What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here with us. This is LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
What's going on? Glad to be back.
Man, a week, man. We've been gone for a full week.
Yeah, man, it's a full week. That was all me. That was all me. Had some things to do. It was the day before school gets back in session, so we we took some family time, went to the zoo and stuff. Man, whenever I go to the zoo, man, or before I go to the zoo, I'm always not feeling it. I'm not feeling the idea whatsoever. I think it's because of the walking. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan.
But what about like the fair or like Carowinds or Six Flags? You do more walking there than you do at the zoo. So why is it the zoo?
I guess See, I don't really go on too many rides anymore if I do go, but still, it would be that would be the adventure aspect of it. So I guess there's something to look forward to. With me, the zoo seems more kiddish to me. But every time I go, though, I have a good time, though. And I had a good time this time. But I think, like I said, it's
you just
primarily
like, you
just
just
walking.
You building yourself up to be disappointed?
It might be, man. I don't know if it's, you know, coming from New York. You know, I did a whole bunch of walking to school all the time. So I came here. Maybe I got lazy because of the cars.
The cars.
You don't walk too much in the South, or
yeah.
in South Carolina. You don't walk too much. I don't know what it was, but I'm not feeling walking. I don't feel walking. But I had a good time, though. Man. But yeah, we missed everybody. We didn't do the show on Tuesday, but we are here. Everybody's good. Nothing's wrong.
Yo, appreciate y'all being here, and let us know if the stream starts glitching out, because on our end it's showing that the output quality is low. It's red. It's never been red this early.
Yeah, it's not even average.
It's not even
bad.
Yeah, it's bad. So if it starts glitching out, then that's because
to us it doesn't.
The
look
stream
like,
health is bad.
Doesn't look like there's any problems, but we do see this red bar. So
red bar is bad.
Yeah, let us know if you do see glitching or sound problems or anything like that.
Oh, so we got somebody in the chat asking about our favorite political commentator, H.A. Goodman, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Asking if people in our chat watch H.A. Goodman. Indo call him H.A. Badman. I used to watch H.A. back in the day when he was more genuine and honest and devoted more of his, I guess, time and journalism to broader issues and not just defending Trump at all costs every day.
It was a major
putting
shift.
out 10 videos a day.
Major shift.
Defending Trump unconditionally. That's kind of a sad shift for a man that has an extreme amount of journalistic, I guess, energy and intellect to share with us, and he's using it to defend Trump.
I thought you were going to go with journalistic integrity for a second.
No, I'd say journalistic intellect, meaning he has like the capability to be very insightful and very detailed as far as the analysis he gives, but he's chosen to divert his attention elsewhere.
We could have sent a tweet. Usually, look, on Twitter, this is something that we have to do a better job on Twitter. We don't really get on Twitter that much. It's not a platform that we really use too often. What I did was I did send out a message on YouTube on the community platform. What I didn't know is that throughout if you send something or if you post something on the community tab on YouTube, it doesn't actually alert anybody. I think the only way you would know is if you actually visit our page on YouTube, and then you would see it.
Oh, true.
I didn't know that. I thought it would actually send out a notification, so that's my bad. If we do have to cancel a show or anything like that, we'll use some other type of forum to get that message out, Twitter or Facebook or something like that. But yeah. I guess we're just gonna go ahead and go. Like I said, we see that there may be problems, but I don't think I see any problems with the actual video aspect of the stream. So let's just get started. All right. So lots to talk about. Lots of things have happened in the past few days, and we're gonna talk about them just like this was Tuesday because it's still relevant. And it's dominating news coverage. So Michael Cohen, President Trump's former longtime personal attorney / fixer, he struck a plea deal with the federal prosecutors on Tuesday. Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 charges of bank fraud, tax fraud, and campaign finance law violations. That it seems like this is a beginning to a situation and not the end. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. So Deputy U.S. Attorney Robert Khuzami said at a press conference Cohen failed to disclose $4.1 million in reported income, which allowed him to improperly obtain loans. Also within the charges, Cohen also pleaded guilty to one count of making an excessive campaign contribution on October 27, 2016. Now that date is very interesting because that is the same date that a payment was finalized for Stephanie Clifford, better known as the porn star Stormy Daniels, the $130,000 that was sent to her. That was the same date that payment was sent to her. It was, like I said, finalized to her. So without stating Trump's name, Cohen said that he was directed by, quote, a candidate for federal office. A candidate for federal office.
You know what that tells me? Not just that, but the fact that Cohen said that he would turn down Trump's pardon. That means he's I guess disgruntled and bitter in some kind of way that he can't even say Donald Trump's name. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think if it was, I guess if he still had some level of respect for Trump, then he would probably said his name, but he chose not to in that instance.
Everybody knows what he's talking about.
Everybody knows who he's talking about.
He was only working for one federal candidate for office. The judge set a sentencing hearing of December 12th for Cohen, and he was released on $500,000 bond. His attorney, Lanny Davis, said of the situation, or of his client, he said, "Today, he stood up and testified under oath that Donald Trump directed him to commit a crime by making payments to two women for the principal purpose of influencing an election. If those payments were a crime for Michael Cohen, then why wouldn't they be a crime for Donald Trump?"
That's a very great point that his attorney makes, because these are crimes that he admitted to and crimes that he was indicted for. So how can the lawyer, I guess, face punishment and face accountability and not the person that he worked on behalf of? It's a pretty simple and straightforward
a line to connect, just a line to draw, really.
Exactly.
And that goes back to some of my initial statements saying that this seems like a beginning and not an end, because it seems like, well, no, it not seems like. Of course, this isn't about Cohen. Cohen is involved in the situation, but it's not about Cohen. He was doing this for Trump. The question is,
and probably
was he
other
directed
people, other people too. I just don't see any other way to look at it. It's not like he's just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. This is what he gets paid to do. You know what I'm saying? He was getting paid to do that. He didn't just say, you know what, I think I'm gonna just go and help this guy out. and just like pay these women off.
Yeah, on his own volition.
On his own volition. No, I mean we all know that he was a fixer, so he was fixing things.
Yeah, and that's what he was employed to do. So anyway, Donald Trump. I believe this was on Wednesday night, but it aired early Thursday morning on Fox News. He had an interview with Fox News' Ainsley Earhardt, and we're going to show a few clips from that interview, starting with Trump talking about Cohen, his time being Trump's lawyer, and I guess some of the things that he did for him.
Well, he was a lawyer for me for one of many. They always say the lawyer, and then they like to add the fixer. Well, I don't know if there's a fixer. I don't know where that term came from, but he's been a lawyer for me. Didn't do big deals, did small deals. Not somebody that was with me that much. They make it sound like I didn't live without him. I understood Michael Cohen very well. What turned out he wasn't a very good lawyer, frankly. But he was somebody that was probably with me for about 10 years.
Wait a second. What?
That's funny to me.
Wait, that last part. Where did he say that last part?
He said that he turned out to not be a very good lawyer, but he was with me for about 10 years.
So when did Donald Trump discover that Mr. Cohen was not a good lawyer?
I wonder when.
So apparently he was a good lawyer for 9.5 years, as far as we know.
Seems to be he turned out to be not a good lawyer when he decided to turn. When he decided to turn on Trump.
When he decided to turn on Trump.
That's probably what triggered Trump's kind of sentiment.
Of course, I don't feel sorry for Cohen, but a part of me thinks that Michael Cohen was probably starstruck over Trump and was happy to serve somebody with such a high profile.
Oh, and he was welcoming of the income too.
Well, yeah, of course, and that's probably that's a part of it too. I mean, I get to fix things for Trump.
No doubt.
You see what I'm saying? But little did Cohen know that Trump likes to throw people away after he's finished with them, or after their usefulness is over. And right now, his usefulness is over only because Trump serves to, I guess, be caught up in what he initiated through Cohen. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So now Cohen going down kind of makes Trump look bad. So now Trump has to kind of distance himself from Cohen. But as far as like Trump goes as a president, I've decided that I don't even look at Trump for political analysis anymore. As far as giving my political analysis about anything he wants to do, like policy-wise, because I already know it doesn't come from him. He has too much stuff going on legal-wise to even pay attention to policy or know what he's talking about. He's going to spend his entire presidency defending himself from his own personal actions. And anything dealing with Trump, the only way I see it is entertainment.
Oh, this is entertainment.
This is entertainment for me. This is not actually political analysis. We'll give political analysis when necessary on other topics, but for right now, talking about Donald Trump, it's actually pure entertainment. Like,
all right, so this is the second clip of that same interview, and Ainsley Earhart asked him a direct question on if he directed the payment towards Stormy Daniels.
Did you direct him to make these payments?
He made the deal. He made the deals. And by the way, he pled to 2 counts that aren't a crime, which nobody understands. I watched a number of shows. Sometimes you get some pretty good information by watching shows. Those 2 counts aren't even a crime. They weren't campaign finance.
Did you know about the payments?
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me, and I tweeted about it. You know, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted about the payments. But they didn't come out of campaign.
Bruh.
Now, is there anybody in this world, on this planet, that believes that Michael Cohen, the personal attorney, the fixer, does anybody believe that he was the one that initiated these payments without the express consent of Donald Trump? I just don't think anybody is that gullible, even his supporters. I just don't think anybody actually believes that. This is the reason why everybody's favorite ride or die guy, Rudy Giuliani, said his comment about the truth isn't the truth. Mm-hmm. Whatever nonsense he was spitting. That's why he said that, because he understands that Trump lies consistently, and the reason why he doesn't want to sit down with, or he doesn't want Trump to sit down with Robert Mueller, is that he knows he will be discovered. His lies will be discovered.
He's not somebody that just lies consistently. He's a bad liar that pretty much forgets like the previous lie he told. You know what I'm saying? Because before he said he had no clue about the payment.
Right.
He had no clue.
Right.
Now he's like all knowledgeable about how the payment actually happened.
It came from me. He said it came from me. But how could it, even, you know, because even in this clip he's saying, I found out about it later. Okay, I found out about it. How could it come from you if you didn't know anything about it? You could say that, you know what, I didn't know about it, but since it was done for me, I'll go ahead and reimburse him.
I'll reimburse him.
But he's not saying that.
He's not saying that.
He's saying that it came from him. That's something entirely different.
Like, the only way he can adjust that is to say that Cohen had access to, I don't know, Trump finances in some kind of way, but I don't think that's the case. But like, another question is, why would Cohen plead guilty to something that's not a crime?
Right. Because you heard Trump saying that, those like 2 of those charges were not even
Two
crimes.
of those charges were not even crimes. Well, according to the court, according to the judge, those are crimes. So you can't plead guilty to something that are not crimes on the books. So unless he pleaded guilty to some ghost crimes, then I don't know what he's talking about. And again, which is it? Trump could say, well, it's a crime, but I had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. Why doesn't he go that route? Well, it may have been a crime, but I had nothing to do with it. He did it on his own. Why doesn't he say that?
By saying that it's a ghost crime, he's saying that the prosecutors, the judge, everybody's in on this game. And
again, if you're not guilty at all, or if you have nothing to do with it, there is no motive for you to try to present this as a non-crime. And my thing is, like, we're sitting up here talking about whether paying 2 women off with hush money, whether it was done in a criminal way or not. Think about that. Think about what we're talking about. Does that even matter? I guess it matters legally, but we're sitting up here talking about the damn president and whether paying 2 women off as hush money was legal or illegal. That's the conversation we're having right now with this damn president. That's crazy, man.
See, I can't understate the enormity of what happened in that interview. Donald Trump, President Trump, actually admitted to a federal crime. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this. A lot of conversation about what's a crime, what isn't a crime. Is Trump guilty of anything here? You know, were there campaign finance violations? In this interview, he does talk about Obama, and Obama, his campaign was hit with a very severe financial penalty because of a campaign finance violation. And that is absolutely true. It was a hefty fine that Obama had to pay because of that fine. And it was related to not reporting several or multiple contributions within a 48-hour window, right? Now, he's right that if it's that type of violation, it's not a crime. So if Trump is guilty of something like that, not reporting these payments that were directed to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, if he didn't report that as a campaign contribution, then yeah, it's a violation, not a crime. But that's not solely the issue here. The other issue is if the campaign contributions, i.e., like I said, the payments that were directed to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, the issue is if those amounts exceeded legal campaign donations.
Kind of like the Dinesh D'Souza situation.
Yes.
And based on how much overage that campaign contribution is, that most likely is going to determine the level of, I guess, punishment or accountability that someone would have to face.
Yeah. And I could go to back in the day. I could go to John Edwards. You remember the whole Riel Hunter situation where he was trying to hush up that whole situation with his mistress, and I believe he paid about $1 million, maybe over $1 million to that end. He was actually indicted on charges very similar to what we're seeing here, campaign finance violations. He was indicted. Now, he wasn't convicted. He did get off, and well, he didn't get off on all the charges. Actually, the jury didn't come to a unanimous decision on some of them, and then your prosecutors decided that they weren't going to retry him. But he was brought up on charges, and this is the same type of situation. So prosecutors would have to prove that Trump knew what he was doing, like he actually knew this was a crime, and he went ahead and did it anyway. Trump has talked about John Edwards in the past. He has tweeted about John Edwards in relation to his situation in campaign finance violations. So he would have to know. He knew years ago what was going on with John Edwards. So this seems like he had the knowledge that it is a crime, but I'm going to do it anyways. This is, like I said, I can't downplay the significance of what he said in that interview. He actually admitted to a crime.
I don't know if campaign finance violations is the only thing that crossed the mind of Trump and Cohen in regard to paying these two women off, because they worked hard trying to keep this hush money issue quiet even after the election.
Right.
There might be another possible issue that could cost Trump financially that they're worried about, and that is a prenuptial agreement between him and Melania. And a lot of these prenuptial agreements, I guess, have provisions about extramarital affairs, not just the affairs, whether one of the parties paid money, whatever it might be. He might actually pose to, I guess, lose out financially in regard to a prenuptial agreement with Melania and not wanting that to get out. Because even if it stays quiet, maybe it's not a violation of it, but what if it gets out? Maybe that's a part of it too. Sometimes if something gets out and it's verified, then he would be guilty of breaking that prenuptial. So he might lose on two ends here, and that might be another aspect of why he wants these payments to be kept quiet and why the continued need to do that even after he won. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of people have asked that too. Well, if it was about keeping his reputation clean, I'd have a hard time saying that. Keeping his reputation clean during the election, then why did they constantly or work so hard to keep this hush money issue quiet after he won? Because there's more issues connected to this hush money other than campaign finance law violation. Could possibly have to do with his marriage.
Right. All right, so this is the last clip from that interview, and Ainsley Earhart asked him, why does Trump believe that Cohen actually turned on him?
If you're saying the payments, if they're not illegal, then why would he use that information for a plea deal?
Because he makes a better deal when he uses me, like everybody else. And one of the reasons I respect Paul Manafort so much is he went through that trial. You know, they make up stories. People make up stories. This whole thing about flipping, they call it. I know all about flipping. For 30, 40 years, I've been watching flippers. Everything's wonderful, and then they get 10 years in jail, and they flip on whoever the next highest one is, or as high as you can go. It almost ought to be outlawed. It's not fair. It's called flipping, and it almost ought to be illegal. You get 10 years in jail, but if you say bad things about somebody, in other words, make up stories, if you don't know, make up stories, they just make up lies.
So that's the thing, like, he's setting an interesting precedent there. Or trying to. He's trying to. He's not really.
Oh yeah, he's doing his best.
He's doing his best to set a very interesting precedent there, because now, like, according to Trump, like, almost witness testimony would become inconsequential.
People that were involved in crimes.
Like,
and they turned against their cohorts and testified for the state or the prosecution or whatever. So they can't be trusted anymore. It should be illegal for them to actually come forward and detail what actually happened.
Now, why would somebody actually present that as a reasonable way of, like that's a reasonable way the criminal justice process should take place? I asked that one question. There's probably only one answer to that question. Why would somebody think that that is a reasonable way for the criminal justice process to go forth?
Or who? Who would think?
What kind of person that would think that?
A criminal.
A criminal would think that.
A criminal would think that and be like, all this flipping business, you got to shut that down. That's got to be illegal because they're coming after me. They're coming after me. I did some stuff. I feel like I'm being attacked here. It's crazy. Like, you saw at the beginning, he's talking about Manafort in comparison with Cohen. He's like, oh yeah, Manafort, that's my guy. He ain't turned on me at all. But Cohen, scum. Look at that. He's actually detailing my crimes. This is a miraculous thing. You're actually witnessing a sitting U.S. president actually talk in an interview like he's a criminal. He's talking about witness testimony coming from somebody that was involved in something and is laying out the situation for prosecutors, saying that, yeah, look, this happened. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you all that I got. You know, I'm gonna give you all of it. I'm gonna give it to you on a plate. All right, just be a little bit lenient on me. I'll give you everything I have. He says all you got to do is make up stories.
See, that's not how it goes down.
Would prosecutors give you a deal if you're coming to them with false intel?
What usually happens is they don't give you a deal until the info that you actually divulge to them or you give to them actually results in something significant.
But it checks out. The information it's
checks
good.
out.
Yeah, like anybody can tell a story.
Anybody can tell a story, and I think most prosecutors, regardless of how you feel about them, understand that and know that before they even take some sort of account from a witness or a witness that's very close to a supposed criminal.
Like I said, man, this interview is absolutely amazing. Again, it was about 10 minutes long, and the feeling, I got a lot of laughter from it because again, it's very weird to see a sitting U.S. president talking this way. He talked in very like conspiracy theory kind of language, talking about Podesta and the Juan brothers. Why aren't they getting this? Why aren't they getting that? And it's just like, this is a sitting U.S. president. And then at the end, or somewhere in the interview, he talks about impeachment, right? He says, I don't know how you can impeach somebody who's done a great job. Now, first of all, that's a lie because he hasn't done a great job. And I guess you have to, it depends on what vantage point you're coming from to actually ascertain if he's done a great job or not. But I don't believe he's done a great job at all. But there was one president that you could say he was at the helm of the country at a time where the economy was doing a pretty damn good job. And that was Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton got impeached, did he not?
Not only did he get impeached, he got impeached because of one lie. One lie about something that truly doesn't affect any of our lives. One lie that truly doesn't really connect to anyone else but himself and the relationship he was having with Monica Lewinsky. It wasn't like he lied about a relationship with like some sort of a billionaire or a businessman or somebody who was in charge of a big bank or somebody who was in, I don't know, a part of a huge industry that Bill Clinton, I guess, how you would say, benefit from financially in some kind of way. If the lie was surrounding that, something like securities fraud, something like enriching himself or his family, if the lie surrounded something that he had a financial interest in that can affect other people's lives, then that would have been different. But it was a lie about like some sexual tryst. Yeah. And that's what the lie was about. And he was actually impeached for that. So I'm trying to figure out, like, on what level do we consider Trump now as far as how he has engaged in his presidency and how many lies he has told and he's been caught up in, and who has surrounded him and who has been indicted that is directly connected to him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll ask people a question. Has Hillary Clinton been indicted for any crime? Has Hillary Clinton specifically, can you point to a crime she is guilty of? No, right? But is that the only thing you would use to assess Hillary Clinton or analyze how she's engaged in her political career? No. No. So how do we analyze Donald Trump, someone who actually became president? Because Hillary Clinton didn't. He actually became president, and several members that were directly related to him, directly related to his campaign, have been indicted or pled guilty or all the above. So how do we judge this president in a way that's different from, let's say, the Wicked Witch of the United States, Hillary Clinton?
We haven't talked about impeachment a lot on the show because it's not something that I believe we're that interested in or that, we're trying to push for or anything like that. I will say that it's looking more and more likely that it's actually going to happen. Now, it would have to mean that in November, in the midterms, that Democrats actually do overtake the House. But as I see things right now, and like I said, as I see this Cohen testimony, and as I see Trump, I think it can be easily proven that he knew exactly what he was doing. Like, even if nobody's going to believe that the direction did not come from Donald Trump. And the criminal aspect is that it exceeded legal campaign contribution. So it seems to be tied up in a nice, pretty bow. And it seems like prosecutors have what they need to actually go after Trump at this point. So I'm just saying, looking forward, the road looks pretty grim for Trump.
I think all we're saying is, like, the same kind of microscope we had for Hillary Clinton, that same microscope needs to have the same amount of strength for Donald Trump. And what I don't like is people putting words in my mouth or our mouths using very, I guess, interesting ways of questioning things. And at no point did we say, like, Hillary Clinton did not commit a crime. Or whatever. You said somebody in the chat room said, did you just say that Hillary Clinton did not commit any crimes? What we're saying is Hillary Clinton has not been indicted for any crimes. That's what we said, and that was clear. So please don't present questions to kind of create a narrative that we are not.
We don't know if he's just saying that he didn't hear. He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
See.
This is text though. We don't know. We don't know. I
don't know, but all I'm saying is I think it was clear that I was saying that she has not been indicted for anything. But we're not going to use the fact that she's not been indicted to form our political analysis on Hillary Clinton. That's the point I was making. I said it really doesn't matter whether she's been officially indicted for crimes or not. That's the only point I was making. This is not whether she actually committed crimes. My question, that was a question. I asked the question, has she? That was a clear question. So I just would expect people to listen before they even issue questions within the chat. All we're saying is use that same watchful eye that you used with Hillary Clinton on Donald Trump right now. Somebody who actually has more to look at, who actually has people around him that have been indicted. That's all I was saying.
Also in the this Cohen investigation, he did admit to a payment going to Karen McDougal of $150,000. And today, on Thursday, it was announced that the CEO of National Enquirer, David Pecker, he was given immunity in the Michael Cohen investigation. So it seems like he's cooperating with the investigators. Like I say, he's been given immunity to do so. And there's been a lot of conversation about this catch and kill thing. And this goes back to 2015, as soon as Donald Trump became a presidential candidate. So they would get these stories. And I believe, I don't think there's any hard evidence of this yet, but there's at least the suggestion that it doesn't just involve Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, that there may have been other stories, other women that the National Enquirer was trying to bury. But they were attacking other Republican candidates, probably Democratic candidates as well. But they were trying to do favors for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, going back years, he's always had glowing things to say about the National Enquirer. So this has been a publication that has been friendly to Donald Trump. So again, it just seems like there's more and more bad news for Donald Trump. We don't know what David Pecker is saying, but ultimately it's going to come out at some point.
And it's going to come out regardless of who else involved in politics, what other representatives, whatever the person is that people feel that they, want to throw the name out. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter what anybody else has done. It doesn't matter what Hillary Clinton has done. It doesn't matter what Barack Obama has done. If we're going to have a conversation about this particular person and their actions, all those people actually essentially don't matter. A position to take in this, Trump saga is not, well, Hillary Clinton needs to be held accountable for her crimes. Well, I just asked you, what crimes are those? The only crimes that, people can be held accountable for are the crimes that have been proven. You see what I'm saying? And, people shouldn't hold hostage the process of trying people criminally for their illegal actions because the entire system is not being tried, or certain individuals are not being tried for their corruption. You know what I'm saying? That's really not the proper position to take. People are guilty or they're not guilty. That's it. There should be no other part of the discussion that involves naming other people. I don't know why we tend to go in that direction. So if you're not going to talk about Trump and give your analysis on Trump alone, then I think it's pointless to bring anybody up, including Hillary Clinton.
All right, so let's move on to Manafort. On Tuesday, Paul Manafort, President Donald Trump's former campaign chair, he was found guilty on 8 criminal charges. There were 18 charges in total, but the jury couldn't come to a unanimous verdict on the other 10. The jury deliberated for 4 days and found Manafort guilty of 5 counts of subscribing to false income tax returns, 1 count of failing to report his foreign accounts, and 2 counts of bank fraud. Judge T.S. Ellis III declared a mistrial on the remaining 10 charges, and Manafort could still be retried on those, but the prosecution has not indicated whether they will retry him. One of the jurors, Paula Duncan, appeared on Fox News on Wednesday night and said that it was one juror that actually prevented Manafort from being convicted on all 18 charges. So there goes Manafort.
Yeah, a lot of people were wondering why the jury had questions about reasonable doubt and certain charges. Everybody thought that oh no, they're struggling with each charge. But I was I just never thought that, because there were 18 charges. Right. And these charges involve financial crime. Uh-huh. And so I'm pretty sure, when it comes to juries and white collar crime, I'm pretty sure that's something that they're not really used to dealing with, and not really used to digging through thousands of documents about. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I can see why it would take them a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Look. 8 charges. I'm just saying, 8 charges, okay? So all this leads me to say that this whole thing about it being a witch hunt, the whole Mueller investigation, you got to put that all to bed now, right? It's time to wrap up that whole kind of narrative that it's a witch hunt, right?
No, I don't.
You got to wrap that up.
No, I don't see that. Well, I tend to think that should be wrapped up, but there's a lot of people out there, including some that are watching our show that are in our chat, seem to think so. They seem to be in like deflection mode.
There's one other person too that won't give up this witch hunt kind of narrative, and that is President Donald Trump as well. After the after the conviction of Paul Manafort on these 8 charges, Donald Trump went on Twitter, said a large number of counts, 10, could not even be decided in the Paul Manafort case. Witch hunt.
Well, I guess the way he's approaching it is 10 is greater than 8, so therefore innocent. You know, like I keep seeing a lot of people scrutinize this trial, and they ask, like, what does this have to do with the Russia conspiracy matter that Mueller is looking into? Well, obviously it doesn't directly. You see what I'm saying? Because this trial was centered on wire fraud, bank fraud, and tax evasion.
Right.
But I'll say there's a big but here. And as far as the Manafort trial goes, who has been interjecting Russia and collusion every second they get? In regards to this trial, even though the trial's focus was Manafort's personal financial infractions, who has been interjecting Russia in all of this whole time? Consistently. In regards to this trial that has nothing to do with Russia directly.
That would be Trump. At every turn.
That would be Trump.
It would be Trump on Twitter all the time saying there's no collusion, witch hunt, these 17 corrupt Democrats and blah, 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 blah. It's not Mueller. It's not anybody in the Justice Department. It's not anybody that is going after Manafort that is coming out into the public saying that, yeah, you know, this is just one step of one phase of the Russian angle, and Manafort is connected to it, and by extension, Trump is. No, it's just Trump saying this. And of course, after Trump says it, many people pick up that and say, okay, yeah, how is this connected to, the Russia angle? How is this connected to collusion? And I think what we're saying is that, why does it have to be? Like, who said it is? Like you said, this is about Manafort. This is about Manafort's dirty behavior. This is about his criminal behavior. It really,
and the work that he did overseas.
From what I'm seeing, this is not connected to Trump as of yet.
Exactly. So why is Trump bent out of shape? Why is Trump bent out of shape about this? Because again, the whole kind of Russia conspiracy collusion thing surrounds them trying to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. Okay, if that's a federal crime, that's a federal crime. If somebody is going to face some sort of punishment for that, whatever. I personally, I don't think that is the kind of the larger or the largest issue involving this situation. Whether they were going to get dirt on Hillary Clinton and whether that fell through the cracks. I personally can't really. I don't know. Like if the FBI wants to get involved in that, and they feel that they want to do something, fine. But me personally, I really don't. I'm really indifferent to that, man. I don't even think. Again, I think that's small cookies compared to the broader financial issues and bribery that could possibly have come from that meeting in Trump Tower.
Right. Okay.
And there might be some broader financial implications connecting Manafort to Trump that might have Trump scared. Case in point, the Manafort's bank transactions, the bank that Manafort used for those transactions, Trump's current Commerce Secretary was vice chair of that bank. So there could be some things linking Manafort and Trump and his current Commerce Secretary, and maybe Trump is afraid of that.
See, I've said this before. If Trump is not guilty, if Trump is not guilty of collusion, or if Trump is not guilty about anything dealing with Paul Manafort's trial, if he's not guilty, anything that Paul Manafort is being charged with, it's not connected to Trump whatsoever. It's kind of like that situation where somebody just continuously says, I'm innocent, but nobody's actually like attacking them. Nobody's actually saying you're guilty. Nobody's actually pinning it on you. He's just coming out of nowhere, even though the prosecutors are not even targeting him as it relates to Paul Manafort. So if somebody's just bringing that into the conversation, then you would have to like raise your eyebrow and be like, well, hold on, man. Maybe we do need to take a look at you. What are you hiding? Like, why are you even talking so much about this? This isn't connected to you as of yet, so why are you talking so much?
This is supposedly not connected to you. But back in May, they recovered notes from Paul Manafort's phone highlighting a possible connection to a bank, which the current Commerce Secretary was a vice chair of. They recovered notes from Manafort's phone highlighting or suggesting that there was some sort of bank connection or back channel that Manafort was creating to certain Russian businessmen that were seeking some, let's say, some financial relief because of sanctions that the United States had on Russia. Now, Manafort already has a history of lobbying for, let's say, very powerful people in Ukraine or pro-Russian officials in Ukraine, officials that have business ties. It makes perfect sense that like Manafort would get involved with Trump to form a tie, to form some sort of channel to the president of the United States and possibly gain some favor in regard to getting some of these sanctions loosened. That's where that's where the connection happens.
So what you're saying is that by Trump appearing to be a guilty man, maybe he sees the writing on the wall that this is eventually going to trace back to him in some regard. In some regard, like again, like whatever that regard is should come up. Like, well, let it come up naturally, right? I mean, if there's nothing, cool. Why are you talking about it? Again, you're only making yourself look like a guilty man because you're the only one drawing this connection with Manafort, Russian collusion, and yourself. You're the only one doing that.
I don't even think it's. I mean, if it's. I don't think Russia is, as far as how their capitalism operates, is much different than ours. So to me, when people talk about Putin connected this and Putin connected that, that to me really like to me has no bearing on it. Whether this bank or this person, these businessmen are connected to Putin or not, because why wouldn't they be? Because he is the damn president. So to me, that doesn't really have a bearing on it. And to me, it seems more about the financial interest in Russia trying to connect with people that have financial stakes over here, or people with financial, I guess, interest in Russia trying to get certain officials in the United States via, let's say, I don't know, policy recommendations to do them favors. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Trump was that perfect person. This is nothing more than just the same old corrupt type capitalism. This person, these fat cats doing favors for these fat cats. It just involves somebody in another country.
Look, man, I keep hearing this particular type of, this saying, you lie with dogs, you get fleas. So Donald Trump, he has fleas. Manafort, as we're seeing right now, he has fleas as well. I don't know who's the dog in this situation, but it seems like there's a lot of dogs with fleas all in this, I guess all in the campaign, and maybe it made its way into the administration as well. Manafort had all this going on. He's been doing some of this stuff for years, but he chooses to be the face of the Trump campaign, the campaign manager. Like, you're right out in front. So without Donald Trump being the the presidential candidate for the Republican Party, and then being the nominee for the Republican Party for president, would all of this actually have come to light?
I don't think so. I think the fact that Trump ran for president kind of kind of brought all this to light. I think if Trump doesn't run for president, he doesn't bring all these people in to be under the scrutiny of the FBI, the government.
Right.
I think their crimes go virtually unnoticed, both Cohen's and especially Manafort. Because again, like once you become a part of a campaign, what happens? Like you have to fill out paperwork. You have to fill out paperwork like by law, and they look into that. And if they see something very off about like your paperwork, then guess what? You're going to get looked into. The Federal Election Commission is going to look into you. You have to disclose information about yourself, especially financial. And if it comes back like that background check that they do, if it comes back like spotty, then they're going to look into you. And Paul Manafort put himself in that position by becoming campaign manager. It's all his fault. Like I just don't understand like why people don't understand that one part.
So this is only the first trial that Manafort is facing. On September 17th in Washington, D.C., Paul Manafort's second trial is scheduled to begin. And in that trial, he's facing 7 different charges relating to his foreign lobbying and alleged witness tampering that occurred earlier this year. So it just gets worse for Paul Manafort, and possibly by extension, it may get worse for Donald Trump. After the conviction, President Trump tweeted about Paul Manafort. This was another tweet. He said, "I feel very badly for Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Justice took a 12-year-old tax case, among other things, applied tremendous pressure on him, and unlike Michael Cohen, he refused to make up stories in order to get a deal. Such respect for a brave man." That sounds like the language of a criminal. That sounds like the language of a damn mob boss. And I think he didn't break.
And I think like when you're looking at this kind of Trump associate indictment like saga, I think like most people aren't looking at this case as if it's some sort of democracy saving investigation, because it's not. It's simply a highly publicized corruption case. That's all it is. Yeah. I don't know why people are making it more than what it is, whether it be people who are like Hillbots or people who are on the Trump train. I don't understand why people are making it more than what it is. It's just a highly publicized corruption case. The only reason why it's highly publicized is because it involves people that are directly connected to the president. That's it. There are actually corruption cases going on all the time. There were corruption cases before Trump came along, and there are corruption cases that are currently in litigation right now for the same stuff, whether it be tax evasion, campaign finance fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, all of that stuff. The FBI is constantly looking into both Democrats and Republicans in regard to any crimes under the umbrella of public corruption. This stuff goes on all the time. I don't know why people are making this into something that it's not. It's just a public corruption issue. I don't know why people are beside themselves and not letting this thing play out.
All right, so let's move on. Another politician has been indicted on charges. This time it's U.S. Republican Representative Duncan Hunter from California and his wife, Margaret. They both have been indicted on charges of wire fraud, falsifying records, campaign finance violations, and conspiracy per a 47-page indictment that was unsealed on Tuesday. So they are alleged to have used campaign funds for personal expenses like lavish expenses, vacations to Hawaii, Las Vegas, Italy. Also for less lavish things, like regular things, like paying for their kids' school lunches, or trying to get free of some debt. I think like they had a dental bill, a delinquent dental bill that they paid on, but they used it for all sorts of type of purposes. It's also alleged that they have used the money. They were arraigned on Thursday morning, and they both pleaded not guilty. A little funny situation happened outside. There were protesters outside as Duncan Hunter was walking by, and they were yelling, "Lock him up," which is a little funny because it's a little different than the lock her up.
I didn't. Jose Garcia says he spent $1,500 on Steam games.
On Steam games. I saw a lot of different charges, man.
I didn't catch that one. That's crazy. That must be for his kids. Maybe for him too, but
it's also in this indictment as well, and it's the indictment from the U.S. Attorney's Office in San Diego. The Hunters overdrew their personal bank accounts more than 1,100 times in a 7-year period.
Wait a second. Whoa.
Do you know how 1,100 times overdrew their account?
They overdrew 1,100 times? Like how?
Different times.
Different times.
1,100
so
times.
basically they were like living beyond their means.
Oh, no doubt, man. This whole situation is crazy. The investigation lasted more than a year into the Hunters. And all the while, Representative Hunter, he proclaimed his innocence. Federal prosecutors say that the Hunters conspire with each other to conceal their buy-in or their use of these campaign funds for personal use. They would do things like buy clothing at a golf course so that the record would actually show that the expenses were for they could be falsely reported to the treasurer as balls for the wounded warriors. That's sinister right there. And all to conceal that they were actually using all this campaign money for their personal needs. Now, the wife, Margaret, she was actually provided a campaign credit card before she ever actually had a formal role on the campaign. Now, Representative Hunter, Duncan Hunter, he forced his staff, or he forced his treasurer to actually make her the campaign manager because he thought that the family could actually use the added income. So he forced that onto the campaign.
And see, I guess that's where like my biggest problem comes in, is that he gets people of his campaign involved in his criminal activity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, he is like not only like putting himself and his family, well, see, I can't say his whole family because it looks like his wife was a willing participant, but his kids at risk. Mm-hmm. Like, he's essentially what you would call like a political supervisor or like a boss. Mm-hmm. Like, he's putting his employees like in a particular position, because now they're involved in criminal activity and they're going to have to answer questions from federal investigators. Now, I wouldn't want to be in that position because somebody that I work for put me there. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in that position, I put myself there.
Yeah. If you're going to get into the criminal game, do it your damn self. Don't have it like thrust upon you by somebody else.
Don't get me involved in it. Essentially, that's what they are working for. Remember, like the people who are employed with his campaign, they were working to, I guess, supplement his spending habits and his wife's spending habits. That's what they were working for.
And it wasn't, and this isn't like, okay, they're just like, they got to do what they got to do. You know how like some people, hey, if they got to break a law to feed their children, well, damn it, I'm gonna break a law. You know, some people have to engage in the drug selling business. Say, hey, because I got to feed my family. You know, there's no real job opportunities out here. I got to do what I got to do, and that really happens across, this country. But these people, the Hunters, it wasn't just to get by. It was to get by lavishly. It was to go to Italy.
Oh, you mean like Manafort?
Yeah.
Because, he was purchasing things like ostrich draws and shit.
These people, man.
I mean, essentially, it's kind of like the same mentality. Now, like, I kind of want to ask people who have scrutinized the investigations of like Manafort or Flynn or Cohen or Gates or any Trump associates, have you put the same level of scrutiny of any other case that the federal government is involved in as far as public corruption, such as Duncan Hunter or the one a couple of weeks ago with the Congressman Christopher Collins
from New York?
Like, what are those investigations that involve the same type of financial crimes similar? Are those getting the same level of attention from you? Are those legitimate investigations that the federal government is conducting? Are those illegitimate investigations? Are those political witch hunts? Like, should the government not go after those people simply because there are other corrupt individuals that have made their way through our government? Let's say Hillary Clinton. Should Mr. Duncan Hunter not be gone after because Hillary Clinton is the, Cruella de Vil? Should we not go after those people?
And it's interesting that you bring up Chris Collins, the representative, because these two, Chris Collins and Duncan Hunter, they were the first two
1 and 2
politicians, the congressmen that came out and supported Donald Trump for president. They were actually, Hunter, and Chris Collins, they were founding members of the Trump caucus in the House during the 2016 presidential election. So it's just interesting that these two people that were very vocal about their support for Donald Trump are now brought up on charges. And Hunter's lawyers, they said last year that, quote, any mistakes that were made, they were made strictly inadvertent and unintentional. Now, again, going back to the campaign staff of Representative Hunter, multiple times they talked to Hunter about his wife's spending habits and how improper they were. And he shut them down multiple times. He got defensive and saying that they were being disloyal to him. So it's like, I don't know how active the representative, Duncan Hunter, was in, the splurging or using these campaign funds for personal uses. I don't know if it was all the wife's, but one thing's for sure, he knew what was going on. Even if he didn't do it himself, he knew exactly what was going on. He knew what his wife was doing, and he put her officially on the team.
So if your members of your campaign or your campaign managers came to you and said, "Look, man, we got some stuff going on,
some illegal stuff,"
you would think that he would be like, "Oh crap, my wife fucking up." My wife is fucking up. She's going to mess this up for us and our family. Let me deal with this. Like, the defensiveness kind of indicates that he was well aware of it and he was a full participant in it, especially because, first of all, like, he is in control, not his wife.
He is the congressman, right? So a spokesperson for Duncan Hunter said that Hunter believes that the indictment against him and his wife is, quote, purely politically motivated. Now, you see that all the time. When I think Chris Collins said something similar as well. They believe that, hey, my illegal dealings, I'm not being called to the carpet on them. No, it's because of political motivations. Sources told CNN that the decision to indict Representative Hunter was that of U.S. Attorney Adam Braverman. Adam Braverman was appointed by Attorney General Jeff Beauregard Sessions, a Republican. So I'm not sure. Okay, so if you say that it's politically motivated, you're saying that another Republican is going after you for political reasons? And if we want to even dive further into this, okay, this is happening at a horribly bad time for Republicans. Again, Representative Hunter represents California. He's facing re-election this year. Re-election is coming just in a few months in November, in the general election, right? So the district that he represents, the 50th district, it is historically a Republican district. But in California's jungle system, only the top two vote getters in the primary actually goes forward to the general election. So that would be the incumbent, Duncan Hunter, and the Democratic challenger, Amar Kampa-Najjar. So Najjar has been outraising Duncan Hunter pretty consistently. And in the primary, Duncan Hunter did pretty soundly beat him. He got about 47% of the overall vote, while Najjar took about 18%. So it looks like I said, this is a Republican district. But now with this news, it's being, I don't know if it's being presumed or it's likely that this guy, this Representative Duncan Hunter, won't be able to hold on to his seat. He hasn't resigned yet, and I don't know if he has any inclination to resign or withdraw from the race, but they can't put somebody else on the ballot. So this is a terrible time. So again, if this is political motivation coming from a fellow Republican at a time when this could only serve the Democratic Party, are you serious? Or is this just the case of somebody was doing some illegal shit and got called
because
on it?
when people say political motivation, they're usually talking about the opposition side, because there is political motivation within a party.
Yeah.
There can be. There are instances where there's like infighting between a party, and certain, I guess, attacks can be political. But in this case, I don't think that's where Mr. Hunter was going. He was talking about the opposition party, which essentially is a go-to right now, and he's following the lead of his dear leader and the person that he supported, and that's Donald Trump. And I think, like I said before, this is a legitimate investigation. I don't know.
It's legitimate, man.
It's a legitimate investigation. I don't see why anyone would call it illegitimate.
So all of these expenses, like all of these expenses that the prosecutors are saying that the Duncans use campaign finance funds for, all of that's a lie? You telling me all of that's a lie? You didn't actually use these funds to go to Italy, to go to Las Vegas?
No. Not just that. It was like unintentional. It was unintentional.
So
you intentionally booked a flight.
Yeah. But it was unintentional.
You
campaign funds.
unintentionally used the campaign
They
funds.
grabbed the wrong credit card.
That's probably what it was. No,
but they grabbed it a lot of times.
They grabbed the wrong credit card a lot.
But then
they lied about like what their expenses were.
Yes.
By accident.
And they gave Margaret, the wife, a credit card before she was even tied officially to
accident.
The campaign.
All that's by accident.
Yeah, her name was actually on the card, but you know that was their bad. Really? Again, this isn't political motivation. This is just somebody that was doing some illegal activity. And again, this investigation happened. I mean, this occurred for more than a year. So it finally culminated, and they got enough to actually indict him and his wife. So yeah, it's bad timing for the Republican Party. But again, when you're involved in some criminal activity, like there's no set time that the investigation is going to close. Sometimes it's going to be right before an election. And in the case of Chris Collins and Duncan Hunter, man, couldn't come at a worse time. And this couldn't come at a worse time for the Republican Party in general too. So I don't know what's going to happen in the 50th district. Again, it's a historically Republican district. Well, there's only two candidates.
And I guess
are voters going to be like?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like I think just from what I'm seeing and how people are, I guess, receiving these recent indictments of Collins and Hunter and whatever, and including Manafort and Cohen. I think people actually have dug their heels in a lot deeper. That's really what I'm saying. I think all this stuff really doesn't matter to people because people are still involved in team politics. Even the people that claim not to be, even the people that claim to be above it and like independent, they are still on the low key, still practicing that same team politics. They still have their favorites, and they still favorites to hate and favorites to like. I don't think it's going to mean anything for that district as far as.
But see, I don't know about that because, okay, with Chris Collins, you remember initially he was saying that, look, I'm not suspending my campaign. I'm still running for re-election. And then I think it was just a day later, he was like, you know what? Nah, I can't do this. I'm not running for re-election, and I'm going to be retiring after my term is up.
Oh, so because he already like kind of won the primary that
yeah, I mean, both of them did.
So you're talking about what is it going to matter as far as outcome?
Well, is it going to matter as outcome and what is the Republican Party going to put pressure on Duncan Hunter to get up out of there? Because Chris Collins was feeling that pressure from the Republican Party, his own Republican Party.
Yeah, but you're right. And
this is a bad look.
We got to kind of put context behind why that pressure was applied. It's just that even the party understands that
you're indicted.
You're indicted.
You're under federal indictment, and you're running for re-election.
And actually, it's not just that he's under federal indictment, is they probably see the writing on the wall and they see that, okay, yeah, his actions are going to lead to a conviction. So
and see, this is actually different.
We can't support that.
This is actually different than 2016 with Hillary Clinton. Now, I was not for Hillary Clinton run for president while she was under federal investigation. I thought that was a terrible look. I thought that was a horrible look. But she was not under federal indictment. She wasn't brought up on charges. This dude is. Not saying that, like I said, not saying that I don't believe that Hillary Clinton is guilty of any. I'm not even going there. It does not matter. I'm just saying she was under federal investigation. This dude, Duncan Hunter, the investigation has been concluded. He has been arraigned Thursday morning. He is officially indicted. How can this dude continue to run for his office? I said it before. I said, you know, when we reported on Chris Collins, I said it's coming. He's going to drop out.
You think it's going to be the same for Hunter?
I don't see how he stays in. I don't see how he stays in.
And actually, well,
because if there was a Democrat that was doing the same thing, you know, the Republicans would use that. So they don't want there to be an opportunity where it's like, hey, we kind of like set the precedent to where, look, I'm under federal indictment, I'm still gonna run and
see, like, I think Hunter's kind of activity look a bit more egregious than Collins.
Oh yes,
just a bit. Just
no,
a bit
not a
more
bit,
egregious.
not a bit, man. Collins' activities, as far as we know it, stem from just one incident where he's get out.
It was pretty much just securities fraud, like insider trading, and that's it. It wasn't like this.
But Hunter,
it was like it was ongoing. So yeah, there's a lot more activity involved with Hunter.
Those 1,100 times that the Hunters overdrew their personal account, it resulted in $37,761 in overdraft and insufficient funds bank fees.
And most likely, if there were bank fees involved, that means guess who paid for it? His campaign.
No doubt, because that's what they used it for.
Yeah, man,
it's not a little bit. It's much worse than Collins, man. Much worse. All right, so let's move on.
Is anything connected to?
You want to do that?
Tibbets? Yeah. We can do Tibbets.
All right. So let me see where I got that at. Okay. So the disappearance of Molly Tibbets came to a tragic end on Tuesday when her body was found in a farm field in Iowa. Tibbets had been missing since she went jogging on July 18th in Brooklyn, Iowa, and she hadn't been heard from since. 24-year-old Christian Rivera was charged with first-degree murder. Rivera told investigators that he was driving his vehicle when he saw Tibbets jogging. He stopped, he got out, and started jogging alongside her. He told authorities that Tibbets warned him or threatened that she was going to call the police. At that point, Rivera claims that he has blocked out that memory, and his next memory is him inside his own vehicle driving. He was at an intersection. He drove a little while longer, and he realized that Tibbets was in his trunk. He got out. This is what he told investigators. Again, he got out and he went to get Tibbets out of his trunk, and he noticed blood on her head. So he had pulled into an entrance to a field, and he dragged Tibbets to a secluded part of the cornfield, and he left her there. So he was the one that admitted this all to investigators, and he led the investigators to her body. Like I said, it's a tragic end to her life. She was a 20-year-old student at the University of Iowa. The other relevant part to the story is that it seems that Rivera may have been an undocumented immigrant. Rivera worked at a place called Yarrabee Farms for 4 years, where he gave his employers a state-issued photo ID and a social security card, but I believe it was in a different name according to the company that he worked for. They made a statement saying that he's not who he's not who they thought he was. So look, this isn't something that I believe that we would have covered, but we are covering it because now it is politically
necessary because it
Yes.
has been politicized to a very racist end, a very racist, I guess. There's been a lot of commentary coming from a particular direction that is trying to kind of use Rivera as some sort of representative for all immigrants.
Yeah.
Like just pointing out this one particular crime involving this one person, as if there's not hundreds of rapes, assaults, murders, and kidnappings across the country. And the White House, not just the media, the White House, because during the press conference,
Well, we have that.
you got the press conference.
Yeah. So yeah, like you say, you're talking about multiple people that have weighed in on this tragic event, and like you're saying, there are a certain segment of people, conservatives, not all but some, that are saying that this incident is
indicative of how
we need
the
to do
country is
something
going to
about-
turn out if we allow people from other countries.
Yeah, they
like,
talk about open borders. They
Yeah.
talk about legal immigration. And like I said, this is just a case where they're using it as political fuel. So White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders on Wednesday, in her opening statements to the press, at the end of those statements, she did refer to Molly Tibbetts.
Lastly, on behalf of our entire administration, I want to extend prayers to the family, friends, and loved ones of Molly Tibbetts. The nation has watched for over 30 days as local, state, and federal officials have searched for Molly, a rising sophomore at the University of Iowa. Sadly, the individual believed to be responsible for the murder is an illegal immigrant, making this an unfortunate reminder of why we need to strengthen our immigration laws. The Bible tells us in Psalms that the Lord heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. The Tibbetts family is hurting, and they're on the hearts of all Americans, and we are grieving with them. With that, I'll take your questions.
So the White House extends prayer out to this one important family. Like all the other victims of crimes, they don't get a prayer because the perpetrator wasn't an immigrant. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look, no doubt, I think anybody that knows anything about the story, I mean, it's absolutely tragic. A young woman's life was cut short, 20 years old. That's absolutely tragic, and I feel for her family, her friends, everybody that's connected to it. But for the White House to actually make an official statement about this particular instance, when, like you said, there are countless other murders across the United States of America. It's just very interesting. Like, the only reason I can think of that you would actually highlight one murder is that, like I said, you're trying to bring fuel to this fire. You're trying to use it for your own political narrative.
There's an agenda there.
No, it has to be.
No, there's definitely an agenda there because, I mean, the facts are the facts, and immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than non-immigrants.
A far lower rate.
Far lower rate. And regardless of whether they're illegal or not, first of all, it's like they are trying to associate Rivera's behavior with his status. You see what I'm saying? That's exactly what they're trying to do. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And it actually doesn't make any sense because he was here for 6 years, right?
At least. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because actually his attorney is combating this whole narrative that he's actually an undocumented immigrant. He's saying that he is actually legal in this country. Now, I don't think he has provided
the proper
any
documentation
or anything like that, but he is, like I say, he's countering that whole narrative, saying that no, he is not a undocumented immigrant. So I'm just.
But see,
he
here's
has to
the
have
thing.
something.
But see, here's the thing. Like that really doesn't matter to us.
No, I don't think it matters
actually,
at all.
And it shouldn't matter at all. But why are they trying to make it matter?
Oh, like you said, they have an agenda.
But see, that's the thing. It's not even about whether he's illegal or whether he's legal or what his status is, because what undoubtedly is going to happen is this type of sentiment is going to spread in regard to all immigrants, regardless of whether they are legal or not, whether they are documented or undocumented. The goal is to kind of spread that fear throughout, and not just with illegal immigrants.
Why not? Why not actually like highlight what this case is actually about? A spurned man.
Ooh,
that was rejected by a woman and couldn't handle it and responded violently. Why not make it about
So
that?
it's,
Because
it's more about male violence.
that's what it seems like to me. It doesn't matter if this dude is legally here or not. It's about that type of attitude, that type of mentality from that man.
Him feeling like a butthurt.
Yeah.
Because the chick did not like respond correctly to his advances.
And he can't take that type of rejection, and it caused them to black out or something. Nah. You know exactly what you like. This dude is a monster, no doubt. I don't care if he's legal here or not, because there's legal monsters and there's people here that are not here legally that are monsters. It does not matter.
Yeah, there's this, like, I guess, very wrong narrative that is somehow trying to attach character traits to certain people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, certain people and a whole group of people. Like this, there's a few of these instances where they talk about this illegal immigration and these people here that have come here illegally, they're committing crimes. Again, like you pointed out, it's far less than what actual citizens here actually, like, they commit crimes. Like, we commit crimes far more than people that are here illegally. But the thing about it is, for me, again, it doesn't matter if he was here legally or not. The whole, I said this before, the whole concept of open borders is pure fiction. It's a myth, because there are border patrol agents all along the border. There are checkpoints. Mm-hmm. Now, people do evade capture. People do get through the checkpoints or evade the checkpoint, get through in certain spots. But to act like any political party or any group of individuals are like, yeah, we don't want any security, we don't want any checkpoints, we just want people just freely flowing into the country.
We don't want any paperwork involved. No.
It's a myth.
No DACA program, no visa entry program, no green card, none of that. Just open. So, like, with that narrative, who are they trying to cast the blame on? Because as soon as you're talking about
on Democrats. They believe, and they always attack Democrats on the Democrats want open borders. They want these people. They want these undocumented immigrants coming into the country to supplant the voting base or something, or actually like to increase their voter base when they can't vote. So it doesn't even make logical sense.
Well, not just logical sense. This particular case is interesting because Rivera worked at a farm of a prominent Republican that was owned by the family of a prominent Republican.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this Republican you're talking about, he was actually being considered to be the, I believe he was actually considered for appointment to head the agriculture department. Yeah. Look, man, when we talk about police misconduct, when we talk about police unjustly brutalizing or killing civilians, do we make it about the entirety of the whole profession? Do we make it about the entirety of law enforcement? No, we don't. We definitely say that reforms need to take place, but we don't make it about all of policing. We don't say that this one police officer is indicative of every police officer all across America.
It goes on a case-by-case basis.
So why are they making this one individual indicative of all undocumented immigrants?
Yeah, I think like the concept or the subject of like border management is not like that extravagant or extraordinary. It's just border management. I think most countries have border management procedures. Those border management procedures in and of themselves are not racist. I love sometimes people will introduce straw man arguments into this conversation as it pertains to border management. I've heard them a lot. I heard people say, there's nothing racist about a border. I'm like, no one is saying having a border is racist. You're literally making an argument that no one is actually making. We're just talking about very practical border management policies and having them and having like very sensible and seamless border management policies. And if the idea and the concept of border management surrounds people being racist, then there's something else behind why they want to manage the border in a certain way. So it's not just like the conversation about the border and border management. It's how people have that conversation and the motive behind those conversations. And those conversations need to be critiqued, and we do need to talk about those. So we're not against a border or against border management. We're just against how the arguments behind why certain people should enter and should not be here. We just have a problem with how people are constructing their arguments, how people are talking about brown people and immigrants. That's the problem. If people can't like not be racist, not be prejudiced, and not be bigoted and talk about this, then they don't need to be talking about it. And their opinion on the border and or immigrants is grounded in something that's really not moral at all.
If the family was to have this type of feeling, like after this incident, they would have some type of feeling on illegal immigration and feel like, hey, if this person wasn't here illegally, my family member would still be here. If they want to have that feeling, I wouldn't even criticize them, because they are emotionally connected to this. So that when you're connected to it, you're really only seeing it from a certain view, again, it's emotion that's connected to it. But people that are not connected to it, you should know better, right? So another statement from another individual, a conservative as well, is Candace Owens. And on Twitter, she said, Molly Tibbetts was killed by an illegal immigrant. There will be zero outrage from Democrats and the spineless celebrities who march to their orders because they need open borders for votes. How many more American lives is the left willing to sacrifice for elections? Again, I've already said, open borders is a myth, and the people that are coming here illegally, undocumented immigrants, they can't vote. So her whole narrative is born out of
complete fabrication,
complete stupidity. But she knows that, what, I won't even say stupidity, because she actually knows exactly what the hell she's doing. She knows it makes no logical sense what she's actually saying, but it is one way to attack Democrats and the left. But what's interesting is that a family member on Twitter, a family member of Molly Tibbetts, she responded to Candace Owens on Twitter. This is a cousin of Molly Tibbetts, and her name is Samantha Lucas. And she said on Twitter, hey, I'm a member of Molly's family, and we are not so fucking small-minded that we generalize a whole population based on some bad individuals. Now stop being a fucking snake and using my cousin's death as a political propaganda. Take her name out of your mouth.
Yeah, she got her comeuppance. Yeah, she just got her comeuppance right there.
And really, there's an aunt of Molly Tibbetts that have made some public statements as well. I believe she talked to CNN. I'm not sure about that, but she did make some public comments. And it seems to be that the family is feeling like, hey, don't make this political, okay? This is not some issue where you're going to make a larger statement about immigration in this country.
As if my family member's death was somehow a product of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like no matter where you are on the side of immigration, I think everybody understands that reforms need to be made, correct? Now, what reforms need to be made is up for discussion. But don't make one instance indicative of everybody here that is actually living living law-abiding lives. Don't make it you're turning this into like a culture war. The people that are here illegally, they can't be as pristine as Americans, They can't lead like a normal life like Americans. No, they're coming here to commit crimes. It's like you said, it's racist, it's bigoted, it's just damn plain wrong, man. And I second, Samantha Lucas's opinion, man. Keep her name out your damn mouth, man. Don't make this into some political statement, because it's not. Leave them be, man. All right. Let's get to Cuomo.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo continues to be, at the very least, a progressive in appearance. He looks like he's progressive. In multiple issues lately, he appears to be going left, and one can only fathom that the reason is because he's getting a primary challenge from Cynthia Nixon, who is running to his left. So the latest action of Andrew Cuomo's progressiveness came on Monday when Governor Cuomo signed a bill to establish a standing independent commission to investigate prosecutorial misconduct by the state's district attorneys. New York is the first state to take such an action. So this is from Huffington Post. The bipartisan legislation signed into law by Governor Andrew Cuomo allows for a commission of 11 members appointed by officials from all three branches of the state government to investigate allegations of misconduct by the state's 62 county district attorneys' offices. So, again, noting that this is the first state to take such an action in the United States of America, that's a pretty profound statement. I don't know how energetic Governor Andrew Cuomo was about this, because the prosecutors in New York are not on the side of this commission at all. And actually, they have threatened to sue the state of New York if Governor Cuomo actually did sign the bill, which he did. So I'm just not sure how energetic or how supportive of the idea
exactly.
he was.
I would be, I wouldn't be, because if I was a prosecutor and I was honest, I wouldn't care that there was going to be a commission to hold me accountable, because I wouldn't care about being held accountable. But if I was kind of a part of, a cabal of prosecutors that kind of had free reign to do what they want and do what they want and not be held accountable for it.
Right.
And I was used to that, and I was spoiled by that. Oh yeah, I'd be against this, but for only personal reasons.
Yeah.
Not because
you don't want to be called to the mat on your improper actions.
That's,
this is the most sane thing in the world. Like, if you're doing the wrong thing, then you should be held accountable for it. If you're not, then there's no cause for the uproar. So why are they, why are they so mad?
And also, you would kind of want your profession to kind of maintain like a global sense of integrity.
No doubt.
Because it doesn't just help you as a prosecutor. It kind of creates more legitimacy for your profession.
Yeah.
Like, if your profession in your state is receiving this type of oversight, that actually is going to reflect on you too, as far as like, I guess, you receiving residual, assumption of integrity because of that. Yeah. The assumption of integrity is going to be there because people know that you're held accountable.
Like, there's an actual process to make sure you're held accountable. Now, see, and this is why this is actually needed in New York and other states as well. But just in New York, just last year, 11 of the 13 people in the state who were exonerated had cases tainted by official misconduct, the registry found. And about half of the dozen exonerations that have already occurred in 2018 also involve official misconduct. Additionally, a separate examination of cases in the state from 2009 found that government practices, which includes misconduct by law enforcement and prosecutors, were a key driver of wrongful convictions, affecting about 30% of the identified cases, according to the New York State Bars Association Task Force on Wrongful Convictions report. So it's a problem, not just in New York, but it is a problem. We always hear, I won't say we always, but it's common now. It's common now that people are exonerated based on information that was held out of the trial. DNA evidence, witness testimony, all these different things that prosecutors push to the wayside, just push aside, and they don't even alert the defense about this information. It takes years for the defense to actually appeal and actually be granted a new trial, maybe, or get evidence tested or what have you. And then you come to a point where years later you have somebody that's incarcerated, and they were wrongly incarcerated. They were wrongly convicted because information was left out. That is prosecutorial misconduct. So those prosecutors that are involved in these kind of actions, they definitely need to be held accountable. Okay.
But ultimately, who do these prosecutors work on behalf of?
Because they work for the citizens. I mean, officially. I mean, officially they work for who they represent.
I think you know what I'm getting at. Like, who ultimately do they work for? Like, what is their job? What do they serve as a, I guess, what are they a funnel for?
You talking about law enforcement?
Yeah, even beyond that, because law enforcement is actually below them.
Yes, they are.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, like, the amount of convictions they secure is not on just on behalf of their own kind of, like, I guess, I don't know, personal accomplishment or some sort of notch on their belt. They're working on behalf of prisons.
Oh yeah.
They're working on behalf of private prisons. They're doing their part in making sure those private prisons get filled. If they cannot do that job, guess, without having, like, any kind of accountability, if they can't,
'Cause that's big business.
that's big business, and they know that. They know they know what it's about. They know what that's about, man. They know exactly what that's about.
So, I mean, probably anybody would guess that prosecutors are rarely actually held accountable for their actions, for their improper actions. This is also from the Huffington Post. The 2013 report illustrated just how rare it is for prosecutors to face punishment of any kind. Using data from 9 major studies that analyzed the prosecutorial misconduct at both the state and national levels, the Center for Prosecutor Integrity identified 3,625 cases from 1963 to 2013. Of those, only 63 prosecutors, less than 2%, were ever officially sanctioned for their wrongdoing. And in those rare instances where prosecutors were disciplined, they frequently received a slap on the wrist, the CPI report says. In New York, the same study identified 151 cases of prosecutorial misconduct from 2004 to 2008, with only 3 of those cases resulting in punishment. So they have the glam life, all right? Because they get to send innocent people to jail. They get to maybe fabricate evidence. They get to withhold vital evidence. They get to send innocent people to jail for years and years and years. Some of them never, ever getting out, even though they're innocent. And if they are found out, if the misconduct is actually ever discovered, they're good. They're good.
So it's like a police officer being allowed to constantly falsify reports and, let's say, take off his body cam and not wear it ever. And
kill people.
Abuse people, and then not ever be held accountable for it.
Yep. Not at all. No. When it is a penalty, some type of action, it's just a slap on the wrist. And so this has results for the state involved, for communities involved, because we all know from law enforcement, from brutality cases, if it's just brutality cases in which an individual is not killed or killed, there are settlements. And we have detailed that many times where some of these, like the largest cities in America, oh my gosh, the settlements are in the millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think over a period of like about 10 years, I think New York had to kind of pay out like $800 million or some shit.
Yeah. So and that's just on the brutality side. Now we're talking about people that were improperly incarcerated. Information like evidence withheld, like prosecutorial misconduct. When those people get out of jail, depending on what state they're in, they can sue the state. And oftentimes they do reach a settlement where they are provided millions of dollars because they were wrongfully convicted. And it wasn't the jury's fault. It was the prosecutor's fault because of their actions. So this is costing the state money just because they want to protect individuals that are abusing their power. But we don't have money. You know, a lot of these states don't have money to fund education. They don't have money to fund retirement programs. They don't have money to fund health insurance. But they got money to pay out when individuals are guilty of abusing their authority.
Or maybe kind of, this is a position I've, I guess, taken recently. When I say recently, I mean within the last like 10, 15 years. I've discovered that maybe it's supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to you or to us, it makes perfect sense to bring up the fact that there's definitely other things that cities could be investing in and spending money on, other than paying off these, police brutality and wrongful conviction suits. But capitalism and putting your foot on people's necks and oppression is an investment, yo. And I think it's an investment, and I think that they're willing to invest that money in doing that. They're willing to kind of stomach that cost. It's kind of like when companies know that they have a faulty product, and they're willing to deal with, settling the lawsuit rather than refining that product so it's not dangerous, or rather than like recalling that product. That's happened a few times where it was something faulty about a car, and the CEOs of the company pretty much said that recalling the car would cost more than the amount of the potential lawsuits they would have to pay out, and they made that business decision.
Exactly.
So they're making a decision. It's like an investment in greed and power. So I don't see anything different in regards to like what we're talking about now. It's an investment in disenfranchisement. It's an investment in oppression. They're invested in it, so they're willing to pay out all that money to keep that going, rather than invest money in the areas that we need.
Just do the right damn thing.
It's essentially, there's no way we don't get.
There's not enough money in doing the right thing.
There's not enough money to be made in doing the right thing, and that's the problem.
And New York is, you could consider New York it's a progressive state. New York is a progressive state. I'm not sure if it's more progressive than California, because when you, in terms of overall representatives, it's blue. It's definitely blue. But even being that it's a blue state, this legislation, this bill, it took like a year and a half for this to actually even reach the desk of Governor Andrew Cuomo. So, I mean, think about how long this would actually take for it to get signed by a governor in other states. I can think of California as one state that may be able to do it. Maybe Massachusetts, because those are the only or like Washington. Yeah, maybe Washington.
Colorado.
Isn't New Hampshire a blue state? I think. No, not New Hampshire. I think New Hampshire. There was one state we talked about that was like, it was like one of the bluest in America, but I forgot which one we were talking about.
Oh yeah, and it was like it was a small state, and we were like, how is that state blue? Was it Rhode Island?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I remember we did it wasn't a show specifically on that, but it's something we mentioned because we were surprised, and it was such a small state.
Yeah, but I mean, in states like those where it's heavily, it's like dark blue, maybe something like this can get done, but across all of the United States of America, I mean, we're talking decades for something like this to actually become the norm, But it's absolutely something that it absolutely needs to happen. So, praise for New York for actually getting it done.
I like how you say praise for New York.
Oh yeah, I ain't say praise for Governor Cuomo.
I was like
I'm gonna be very general because, like I said, I'm not sure how enthusiastic Governor Cuomo was about actually supporting this, and if it only came because he's being challenged from the left.
I think you know the answer to that. He's only trying to, present this as some sort of policy agenda because of your girl, Cynthia Nixon. He's just playing, man. He's just he's cosplaying. He's cosplaying progressive. He's a progressive cosplayer, man. He's nothing but like the same corporate Democrat, man.
All right, so let's go to ESPN. ESPN has made a change to their broadcasting of Monday night NFL games. Going forward, ESPN will not be airing the national anthem performance. In an email sent out by the Trump Make America Great Again committee, it's a joint fundraising committee composed of Trump's presidential campaign and the Republican National Committee, the president said, if America is too offensive for anyone in our country, then what are they doing in America? I'm calling on you to join me in denouncing this spineless surrender to the politically correct liberal mob. So, of course, Trump would have something to say about it when it's talking about the national anthem and the kneeling. Now, I let off with the story that ESPN is making the change. I'm not sure that it's actually a change because it wasn't actually standard practice for ESPN to air the national anthem, the whole performance. And this is just something that they came to. They say that they weren't pressured by the NFL to do this decision, to make this decision. It was something that they told the NFL that they were doing. But I'm indifferent about this, because we know that on Sundays, like the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games, you don't see the performances. You don't see the national anthem performances. So, do I care that ESPN won't be showing it? No.
It's like they're trying to treat this kneeling thing, like these players kneeling, as like explicit content. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't show this. We can't show this. It's explicit content. But really, it's like a few players here and there. Like, so what?
And it's not even every team.
It's not even every team. But I mean, but what are these networks here for but to appeal to the watchers? So to me, it just seems like an attempt to pacify the discomforts of immature populace, man. That's what it seems like. Why else would they even worry about that? But think about what people are worried about when they're about to watch a game. Are they really worried about making sure they sit down on that couch or that chair?
Oh, I can't wait.
Can't wait.
Can't miss the national anthem.
Because if you're talking about it being ESPN, you're talking about something being televised, not people that are actually there. Yeah. People at home.
Sitting in your living room. Or...
You know what? I was going to say it's the people at home that are worried about snacks and drinks. But it's actually the people at stadiums. A lot of people at stadiums are worried about snacks and drinks too.
That's when they take the opportunity before the game. Like, yo, did you didn't get you didn't get my food? You didn't get the drink? Man, go ahead and go get it, man. This is the opportunity before the game starts.
Before the what starts?
Before the game starts.
Before the game starts, not before the national anthem starts. No. Never heard of that too. And of course, and most likely, I can understand people at the game wanting to be involved in that ceremony, but the people at home are definitely not involved and don't even care about that ceremony. So the fact that ESPN, a network that broadcasts out to an audience, cares about this issue is kind of really puzzling. But even what's more puzzling is the different charitable initiatives or the ceremonies or the promos that the NFL already does before games, right? If that doesn't bother people or if that doesn't disrupt their football viewing, then players kneeling shouldn't disrupt their football viewing either. And if people can...
You used a very interesting word, disrupt, though. See, it disrupts their comfort by seeing somebody kneel during the national anthem. It disrupts their I guess their idea of patriotism. It disrupts their whole mentality. Like, if you're actually trying to raise awareness for an issue that makes me uncomfortable, then I gotta be against it.
So then you gotta make it about something else. You gotta make it about disrespecting the flag or disrespecting the troops or make it about you're destroying my ability to watch the game. I'm like,
even though the game is not
even being played. And I'm like, if you can sit through 30 minutes of damn commercials, if you can sit through 30 minutes of commercials
back to back sometimes, man. Kickoff commercial.
Right, exactly. It kicks off commercial. It comes back, and if like after the first couple of series, another commercial. So you have 30 minutes of commercials during a football game where corporations are trying to sell you shit that you don't need. Yeah. But if you can sit through that,
but see, that don't make you think though. That isn't awaken any kind of deep feelings that you may have about anything. Just commercials. You can just be a zombie. Like, hey, that doesn't do anything for me. But if you're, like I said, if somebody's trying to make you think about something that's uncomfortable for you, like if your history has always been to support law enforcement to no end, and then somebody's actually trying to paint a picture for you to be like, you know what, it's not all glorious. Like, there's actually some things that are going on in this country that we actually need reforms on, and you're not there yet to where you can actually accept that. Oh, that's that's like two unmovable forces going together.
I'm trying to think of anything else that might make them uncomfortable, that might make them look at their life. No, I'm not being serious.
Yeah,
but like, I've seen like anti-smoking commercials during games, like in the commercials. Doesn't that make people think? Why? Doesn't that make people think?
It's not. That's not as deep though. It's not as deep though, man. And they can like if you. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. You know, like if you saw that and you'd be like, man, please, it's not for me.
That's for me.
I mean, so I got a handle on this. It's not gonna affect me. But you can't run. You can't. And
also, there's really no, other than like health risk. There's really no kind of like, I guess, I don't know. There's not like a real like moral problem with like smoking. So people don't associate smoking with a moral problem. Like there's something morally wrong with me. It's like they just associate it with like, okay, I'm just fucking my body up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
When you talk about patriotism and you try to input veterans in this thing and you make it all about that, oh yeah, that's going to drum up some real profound feelings, like some real deep feelings, even though it's not about that.
You know what? This is kind of like, if you think about like what's going on now, like, and seize on the iconic moment that it really is when you're looking at these pictures and videos of these players kneeling, right? Like, you have to kind of think about like how iconic that is and how iconic it's going to look in the future. But right now, America is doing the same thing that has always done. It has never seized upon moments like this, and then is later drawn. Yes. You see what I'm saying? And then later they are, I guess, dragged, kicking and screaming. Yes. Like in a way. So I guess in a way that forces them or forces us as a country to deal with these issues, and then we look back in hindsight and talk about how, man, all those people were heroes. No doubt. We need to look up. We need to look up to those heroes. Look what they did. Look at Tommy Smith and John Carlos in the 1968 Summer Olympics giving the Black Power fist. Like, how great was that? Or how great was Muhammad Ali and how he stood up for the disenfranchised black people, and he kind of put his career in jeopardy because of that. What a hero, what an American hero he was. I was like, he wasn't an American hero at the time.
Look at how conservatives talk about Martin Luther King Jr. Now, current day, you think conservatives were in his corner back in the 50s and 60s? No, not at all. Like you said, man, it's interesting. Maybe decades from now, Colin Kaepernick will be an American hero, huh? And not just in segments of society as a whole. So one thing I want to talk about is I guess in coordination with this, U.S. Representative Beto O'Rourke, who is challenging Senator Ted Cruz's seat as a senator. He made some comments about the kneeling controversy. And they went viral. It's a video, and I saw this on Now This. It went viral, millions of views. Someone asked him a question in the audience, and from the question, you could feel you can understand that the person that was asking the question, they had feelings about it, negative feelings about watching players kneel for the national anthem. So, in response, Beto O'Rourke, in part, he said, non-violently, peacefully, while the eyes of this country are watching these games, they take a need to bring our attention and our focus to this problem to ensure that we fix it. That is why they are doing it, and I can think of nothing more American than to peacefully stand up or take a knee for your rights anytime, anywhere, and any place. So, like I said, that was just a segment of his comments. I wholeheartedly supported what he was saying. It was, like I said, it was right on the money. Like I said, he did bring reference to back in the civil rights movement, how people were protesting civilly, protesting non-violently, and this was all to bring awareness to some issues that were impacting our country, and they wanted to force change. So he does see the correlation in what's happening with these NFL players kneeling. The the one thing about this though that
Oh, you saw a little, maybe a gap in his thinking?
Well, not a gap in his thinking. Like I said, I wholeheartedly agree with his comments. I'm just hearkening back to a few months ago in May. You remember the Blue Lives Matter bill?
Oh yeah, that's right. Blue Lives Matter.
The Blue Lives Matter bill, which that's not the official name. The official name is the Protect and Serve Act of 2018. It was passed in the House by a vote of 382 to 25, and one of the Congress members that voted for it was Representative Beto O'Rourke. And in this bill, in this piece of legislation, it would have instituted it would have really made law enforcement like a protected class of individuals. And it would mandated like any violence toward like serious bodily injury towards them, that would have been a federal crime. And it talked about like if you kidnap a police officer or seriously hurt like knowingly hurt a police officer, it could graduate to the extent of it being a life imprisonment type of sentence.
You see, it's weird, like to have a vote on that and to vote kind of yes on that bill is very odd to me, because police have always had a heightened level of protection. Always. It has always been there. And even like with the current protections that they do have, police have kind of used that protection to shield themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they've used that protection in order to charge individuals with things like resisting arrest and assaulting an officer.
Like it's always been a thing.
It's always been a thing.
Where they're protected more than like just average citizens.
And guess what? I think they should be. I have no
problem with that at all.
With that.
What I have no problem is
now they're
why are you doing more?
Not only why are they doing more, this bill actually seeks to I guess consider police officers like a class, like a protected class.
Like this would there's a Senate version of this bill where it would actually establish that violence against a police officer would be a federal hate crime. So it's crazy. Like, I mean, like if somebody is attacking a police officer for whatever reason, you would automatically have to say that the reason is because they hate the police officer because they're a police officer, which you wouldn't know that whatsoever. So it's
you may hate that the police officer is targeting you. You may hate that the police officer is I guess profiling you in that situation or abusing you in that situation.
No doubt.
But most likely it's not, you're not fighting back or even hitting a police officer because you hate all police officers.
Like I said, I have no problem with police officers being protected. I want police officers to be protected. I want them to feel safe on the job because I know it's a dangerous job. But it just slaps, like this bill kind of just slapped me the wrong way, because when they already have been notoriously supported by the entirety of our country, by regular citizens, by politicians, everybody, but nothing is really being done in the way of like actual reforms. Like nothing is being done on the national level in terms of reforms. You're not actually pressuring these precincts, or you're not pressuring police chiefs to actually revamp their policies or change the way they act when they're dealing with civilians. Nothing. All we hear is protection, support. So I don't know. Like I said, what I heard from Beto O'Rourke was good, but then, like I said, I don't know how to reconcile that with his vote.
Oh, you seem to be reconciling that pretty well. The fact that you brought it up is the reconciliation. You're like, yes, these words are good and they're very supportive words. And you're being vocal. But at the end of the day, what means more? And what has more impact? Your words or how you vote?
Yeah, true. No doubt, man. No doubt. All right. We got one more story. All right. We got one more. This is probably going to be dummy of the day. This is dummy of the day right here. The LTMB dummy of the day. Doesn't make sense. So let's just get to it.
Does it ever make sense?
No, it doesn't.
It's not supposed to make sense.
That's why they're the dummy of the day. No doubt. Yeah. So a gay Republican in Utah believes that the Republican Party is where it's at for the LGBTQ community. Recently, Dave Robinson, who is the Salt Lake County Republican Party's new communications director, he said he believes the GOP is good for LGBTQ businesses. This was at a meeting with Salt Lake City's Tribune editorial board. So he said, and let me get this right here. He said, I said, you can own your own business. You can run for office. I don't think there's a better time on this planet in history to be gay than right now. And so this was an attempt to show how far along the GOP has come. But when I think about the GOP, I think about a party that largely opposes marriage equality. I think about a party that pushes bathroom bills. I think about a party that has a sitting U.S. president that is part of the party that is trying to ban transgender people from serving in the military. I think about that type of political party. But, aside from all that, it's good. Aside from all that, it's good for LGBTQ people. Oh, yeah. Business is good for business.
Is this an attempt to appeal to that community? This is an attempt to appeal to that community.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you actually appeal to that community by encouraging members of your party not to engage in all the stuff that Will just mentioned.
Yeah.
That's how you facilitate some sort of relationship with that community. If you're honest about providing a space for those people, you kind of adjust your agenda and you adjust your policy focus.
You kind of appeal to them, right?
To suit that. And you don't just say, hey, we're for you, come to our side.
Just with words.
Just words.
And another issue, largely they're against gay adoption as well. So it's like I don't know what you're saying. So he went further.
Isn't the current vice president promote conversion therapy?
Yeah.
Mike Pence?
Yeah, he does have that kind of history, does he? Yeah.
He promoted conversion therapy.
He surely does. And he's a member of the Republican Party. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this guy, Dave Robertson, he went on even further. He said, he had some ideas about the rate of suicide among LGBTQ youth, and he blamed it on promiscuity. He said, I actually think it has more to do with the lifestyle that the gays are leading that they refuse to have any scrutiny with.
I see what he's doing. See, that right there tells me he knows he's full of shit. Because he is trying to cast blame on something else other than, I guess, the GOP's effort to disenfranchise those people.
Right.
That is most likely the reason those people are driven to suicide, because they are cast out in society. And to be honest, I think if you're talking about socially, I think there's masculinity issues regardless of what party somebody falls in. There's masculinity issues on both sides as far as how people view that community. But if you're just talking about policy and political agenda going forth and trying to disenfranchise those people, I think it's clear what side, I guess, is the most antagonistic to that group, and probably the main contributor as to why that group is driven towards suicide. And I think he knows that, but he can't accept that, so he has to blame it on something else.
Promiscuity. I don't believe that there are any studies that paint promiscuity as an integral factor in the rate of suicide among LGBTQ youth. But you know what? Let's assume that it is, right? Let's assume that it is. You're telling me, if promiscuity is involved in the high rate of suicide among LGBTQ youth, wouldn't that be a factor? That wouldn't be the heart of the issue, right? That would be a symptom of something else. And so the symptom could be something like family rejection, societal rejection. It could be discrimination. So it could be violence against them.
even if that were true, and he did have data showing that there were more promiscuous,
yes,
it would still be based on something.
Yes,
it
would be a circumstance
them,
based on something else.
It would still be them engaging in some kind of activity as some sort of outlet to deal with being disenfranchised, being being seen as a pariah in society.
Exactly. Like they don't have a place in society. They are rejected wholeheartedly. So if you don't feel self-worth, if you don't have high self-esteem, then yeah, you can't act out in different ways. One of those ways could be promiscuity.
I think,
but is that the reason?
Yeah.
Is the promiscuity the reason why there's a high rate of suicide among LGBTQ youth? No, not at all. You're an idiot.
There's no way he can believe that's true. That's him just trying to massage his conscience
and try to work for the GOP to try to
again,
and
that's the thing. He is Republican at heart, and in order to, I guess, remain a Republican and I guess feel good about that, you kind of have to then attribute certain things. You have to do that. You have to kind of project blame onto certain things that doesn't lead back to your party, so you could consciously remain who you are as far as like what party you represent.
The same Tribune, the Salt Lake County, the Salt Lake City Tribune cited Equality Utah Executive Director Troy Williams describing Robinson's comments as a weird way to try to lure support for the GOP coming from the LGBTQ community. Williams said, condemning who and how we love is a strange way to build a bridge between the Republican Party and the LGBTQ community. Mr. Robinson's rhetoric is deeply irresponsible and unbecoming of a leader in a political party in the state of Utah.
Like that makes a lot of sense, because in his attempt to try to like encourage that community to come to the GOP, he's actually offending them and saying, damn, they some hoes.
Exactly.
He's basically saying
that's what he's saying.
Gay people are hoes.
Yeah. Like, stop being so promiscuous.
Stop being hoish and come to our party. Yeah. That's basically what you said.
That's what your problem is. See, like if you just kind of curb all that kind of sexual activity, stop hoeing around.
I see y'all suicide rate is up. I understand that. And so what I'm coming to do is I'm reaching out to you hoes, to try to solve this problem for you. That's how you sound.
Is promiscuity a problem that only affects the LGBTQ community? Aren't many heterosexual people promiscuous?
Mm-hmm. Different levels. Yes,
different levels. But my point is that it's not something that affects a certain type of person. It affects humans. It affects humans. All humans. It could be any human.
See, now you're getting into something else, which means that people like this guy, they really don't see, people of that community as human as they are.
You might be hitting on something.
They're not. They're just not normal. They're just not
normal. Dave Robinson, LTMB's Dummy of the Day. So that concludes the show. We got through everything that we wanted to get through. When do you want to open it up, or you want to call it?
We can open it up for we can open it up for a while.
All right, so we're gonna open this up for calls. We got a little time for calls. We do gotta get out of here in a little bit, but yeah, we do want to open it up for people that may have something to say about anything that we have talked about on this program. So the number to call in is 669-900-6833. And we do encourage our listeners and our viewers to please call in and tell us what you think about some of these issues that we have broached today.
Before it gets too late to where we forget, I think Jose Garcia sent us some cheese, sent us some funds through Super Chat. Yeah, Jose Garcia, appreciate that.
No doubt,
so
man.
Before we forget.
Appreciate that.
Helping us out for real big time.
Much love to Jose, man. Much love to all y'all out there too that's engaged in the chat and just watching us too. Let's see, let me set this up so we can possibly get some callers. Probably should have done this before I did that, but whatever. All right. And at the end of the show too, we have a little surprise. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, got a little surprise, you know, something that's been requested.
Moose Gal. Yeah, Moose Gal been making some requests and poking me over and over again. Apparently, I say apparently like it ain't true.
Yeah.
But we had a particular caller that I thought was very delightful.
Yes, very delightful.
Very delightful. She knows who she is. She's Jean. I thought she was very delightful. I made some comments about being, I guess, inspired by her voice.
Yes, the soothing voice.
The soothing voice
Jean
of Jean. Yes. And so I made a claim that I was inspired by it. And someone suggested that, you know, I said that I might, make a song. And so Moose Gal took it very seriously and has been poking me about this song that I was inspired to make based on the voice.
Yeah, there's not gonna be any singing. It's just straight tunes. All right, there's no vocals. There's no backup.
Oh no, because I can't sing. Yo.
And there's no backup singers or nothing like that. No.
So this is all Moose Gal's fault, like pretty much. So if Moose Gal's still up in here, I'm just saying it's all your fault. I essentially had to make this song. I had to do it now because I mean.
All right, excuse me. Let me set up this environment so we can take the first caller here. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. All right, there we go. All right, we should be good now. All right, let's make sure the stream is up. All right, let's unmute ourselves. All right, we got the first caller, 704 area code. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
What's going on, fellas? It's Will from North Carolina.
What's up, Will? How's it going, man? What's cracking?
Good. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Can't complain, man. What's up with you? What you got for us?
That's what's up. Well, a couple things I want to comment on what you guys, some of the things you were talking about. For one, what you were saying about the claim that promiscuity was correlated to higher suicide rates in the LGBT community. Was that not the claim?
Yes.
It
was
the claim that promiscuity is, I guess, maybe the leading factor in the high suicide rate. Yeah, that was a claim from Dave Robertson.
Okay. Wow, that's hilarious. I mean, see, one thing that we all need to remember is don't ever listen to somebody that says something like that if they're not citing some facts and some research and some statistics. I mean, it's just a ridiculous thing to say in the first place, and you never would make that kind of claim without citing some evidence. And I'm along with you guys. I'll go ahead. I'm with you guys, and first of all, I don't know, but I seriously doubt promiscuity is more prevalent in that community. For one, I've never seen any evidence to that link. I've never even heard anything like this that promiscuity is connected to suicide. So yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yes, it's highly ridiculous, man. It's and this was connected to the youth too. I mean, this was like probably you would think from maybe 15 to maybe 24 years old, something like that.
And even in the process of even trying to gather information like that is very difficult anyway, because a lot of that stuff would have to be self-reported anyway. Like, who's following everybody around, like keeping a tally on like how much sex people are having. Like that there's no way you can actually, I guess, gather that information efficiently. Like you would have to actually have, you know, people being like followed around and their activity being tracked, and you would have, like you said, you have to go to high school, and like you said, you have to count on self-reporting too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just inaccurate.
That's why I don't think there's any studies that actually back up what this guy is saying.
Oh no, there's not. And one thing, well, let me say this: if there was any suspicion by a professional that promiscuity had a connection to suicide, we would have some data. Let me just go ahead and tell you that. And one thing, we could get some good data on that. It would be much more difficult because of the reasons that you mentioned. But we could. It would just take a lot of effort, and nobody's going to go through that effort when we know what the results are going to be. You know, I mean, like, there's just nothing. Yeah, there's nothing to suggest that. Nothing. Right. So, but you know, so that's crazy. That's unfortunately, this is commonplace to hear stupid stuff like that. But one thing that you mentioned earlier, when you mentioned the fellas in the Olympics that will raise their fist on the podium,
yes sir,
which was a very brave and powerful statement. So, you know, very proud of those fellas. I know it's a long time ago, but I can't remember exactly when, but
that's why I mentioned it. I mentioned it because it was a long time ago, and I think when history is judged from afar, in hindsight, people tend to like have a very, idealistic view of that time, as if they have internalized that time period and recognize the importance of it. But when situations like this come up with the kneeling, it proves that we truly haven't done that as a nation.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that completely. You're right. When we look back on that situation, yeah, we're gonna find it pretty disgusting, the way this has been handled by the NFL, politicians, particularly Donald Trump, and so that's actually a really good point that you make, and I think we should, you know, remember history and remember that we're going to be judged by history too in the future. So it's a good point. What I wanted to say about that too is, I'm not sure if you're aware about it, but it's a really cool story involving that incident. There's a fella, there was a white guy on the podium too. I think he was Australian.
Yeah, no, you're right. There was a white dude on the podium, and I think it was, I can't remember what country he was from, but no, you're right. He was in there too.
Yes, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you might want to check it out, man. If you haven't, I'm sure you can find a story about it. He actually gave those guys the gloves.
Oh, word!
He wanted you, but he gave them the gloves. Yeah. That's why one is on the right hand and one is on the left hand.
Okay, now that makes a lot of sense. It's not like, because it's not like he was wearing two right-handed gloves, so that makes sense. Right. I never realized why one was on the right hand and why one was on the left. So okay.
Yeah, he asked them if they wanted to wear those gloves because he was aware of what was going on, and I can't remember. Like I said, if you find the story, you can see the details. So I thought that was pretty cool thing to mention. But also, there was another thing I wanted to talk about for a minute. Let's see. What was it? I'm going to go and forget now.
We got it. Well, while you kind of ponder that, we do got another caller, so we'll put you on hold and get back to you. All right?
Yeah, that'll work.
Maybe you can. Okay. All right. So
appreciate
let's get to no problem. All right. So let's get to the other caller. This is from the 702 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hello.
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 Hear me?
Who do we have on the phone? What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Amy. I'm calling from South Florida.
What's
South
up, Amy?
Florida. What's going on, Amy? What you got for
Hey
us tonight?
guys.
What you want to talk about?
Yeah, so recently a woman by the name of Rashida Tlaib, I'm sorry if I'm saying her name incorrectly, won the Democratic nomination for Congress in Michigan's 13th. I believe that is Keith Ellison's district, in which he's leaving very disgraced. And prior to Ms. Tlaib's nomination, she was a proponent of the two-state solution in the Israel-Palestine conflict. And since Ms. Tlaib won her nomination, she is now a proponent of a one-state solution. So I'm really curious what you think about her flip-flopping on this issue, and that's about it.
Well, hold on. So you said she was a proponent of the two-state solution, and then what?
She was a proponent of this two-state solution. She was actually endorsed by J Street, which is a left-wing organization that advocates for Israel, but also is a very pro-Palestinian organization. But J Street is an organization that advocates for a two-state solution, the state of Israel and the state of Palestine. So they provided their recommendation for her, but after she won the nomination, she went back and decided that she was an advocate for a one-state solution, and J Street subsequently rescinded their endorsement of her. Of course, the damage was already done. I didn't know if you guys were aware of that or not, so I was curious what you thought about that.
Wow. I heard nothing. I didn't hear anything about that. Like usually it works the other way around though. Usually they kind of are very usually our politicians are very ardent supporters of kind of Israel to gain more of a political backing with constituents, and then they reverse after getting elected. I've never heard of it working the other way around.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean,
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, Will's looking it up right now. But
yeah,
I guess I guess she just wanted to. That's kind of a wedge issue right now as far as that region of the planet, two-state solution, and and I guess people use that as some sort of, I don't know, they use that issue in regards to how they want to invest politically and gain traction with a certain demographic of people. And I mean, it's a popular issue.
Ms. Tlaib herself is the daughter of Palestinian immigrants, so she certainly has a vested interest in this issue.
So not only does she have I guess she presented a politically invested interest, she has a personally invested interest as well.
She is going to be the first Palestinian woman in U.S. Congress. Yes, she is.
So this shift happened right after the primary?
She got it right after the primary.
Yes, it did happen right after the primaries. And so, like I said, J Street rescinded their endorsement. Of course, the damage was already, in my opinion, I would consider it damage. Others may disagree, but, she went back on whatever she said she believed in.
Do you know who she's going to be facing? Who she's going to be facing?
It's a Democrat.
She does not. I don't believe she has any opponents, and she's in Michigan. And you may understand that in Dearborn in northern Michigan has a huge Muslim and Arab population. Right. She is not opposed. She will win her seat.
Yeah, even if she's opposed, that's a Democratic district. She's
winning her seat. Yeah, no doubt about it. She will be the first Palestinian person and woman in Congress.
So she did not even, need to wait to rescind her.
Right.
So she
not to the Journal. There's just no reason.
So that tells me kind of she knew she was already a shoo-in. So she went ahead and just.
Of course she is.
It would be
very. Yeah,
it would be like
I've watched her speak. She's
Ocasio-Cortez.
She knows what's going on.
Yeah, it would be like Ocasio-Cortez coming out and changing something right now because she's a shoo-in. It's that type of district.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Why do you think kind of she would do something like that? Obviously, this was planned. Why? Like,
that's a great question. I really don't know, because when you think about, like, why would she support a two-state solution? Okay, to gain the vote of the Jewish population. Well, the Jewish population in the United States is not a huge population, and particularly in her district. So I don't know. And that's why I'm asking. I'm really looking for an extra opinion. I've been out there. I didn't know you guys weren't aware of it.
Is there maybe some are there some donors she's looking for? Quite possibly. Could there be some?
I don't know.
She's
but
looking
I know
to appeal to.
She lost a whole hell of a lot of donors.
Yeah, but that's what I would think, because I mean
there has to be some sort of motive. There has to be some sort of incentive.
If you're on the side of the issue saying that you're a backer of a two-state solution, that would suggest that you're going to get more donors, because that's a pretty popular kind of mind frame to be in. To say that you're on the side of a one-state solution, that would send people running for the hills.
Which Amy,
that's a very
which Amy outlined, which is exactly what Amy outlined. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the incentive here?
I don't know. Like I said, maybe she feels comfortable in being who she is.
I think that she was a proponent of a one-state solution, perhaps to begin with, but she, waited until she won her primary to say what she really thought. But then again, she's going to get into Congress where she's still going to be in a minority. So I don't know. It's weird. It's just very strange. I don't know where she's going with it. I'm just throwing it out there for discussion.
I wonder where she thinks, or how she sees, what's the structure behind a one-state solution? Like, her view of it. Like,
oh, well, that's an insane suggestion, of course. Yeah, that's a crazy suggestion that's never going to happen.
But it's like, so like contextually, like, how does she see a one-state solution? Even if
I don't know if she's explained it. Yeah,
exactly. How she explained that, even if it's something we all can't see. How does her vision of a one-state solution look?
So it's really absurd, because her vision and you can look this up, you can look up the articles, because she outlines, a rough draft of her vision for a one-state solution, but it's like this, idealistic democracy and yada, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the Hamas charter or the Palestinian Authorities charter for their country, it is an Islamic Muslim state, just like any other Arabic state in the region. So I don't know, like, where she's coming up with this fantastical idea of a democratic state where everyone's equal and yada, yada, yada. That's not going to happen under an Islamic state.
So her kind of one solution vision involves some sort of, like, congealing of some sorts. Is that what you're saying? Like some sort of cultural. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, but the problem with that is that anyone who has done their research will notice that the population of Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank equal or outnumber the number of Jews in Israel. So if all of those people were to be absorbed into Israel quickly, the country would become yet another Arab Islamic state.
So,
but because leftists scream constantly about a non-existent genocide, they don't think about that. So if that were to happen, if every Arab in Gaza and in the West Bank were to come into Israel, it would become a pluralistic Arab society, just like every other country in that area.
Okay. Then what is the solution? Because, see, you brought up two kind of two different issues. Even if you don't believe that there is any kind of I guess disenfranchisement going on right now, regardless if it's genocide or in any other kind of way, I guess to me that's another issue. Now, how do you think a solution can be reached? If we're talking about being practical, if we're going to talk about the left being practical, because I do agree it is kind of a very hot button issue on the left, what is a practical solution that kind of offers some sort of pragmatic approach other than flooding the current state of Israel with, you know, a more volatile group of people that will most likely, and I could admit this, they would probably have a chip on their shoulder. Mm-hmm. Like what is a pragmatic way to deal with that? Since we're going to talk about, you know, a common sense solution to an issue that's never going to end, what is the pragmatic solution that you can offer that doesn't involve people just just flooding into this current Israeli territory?
Michael, I love that you asked that question. It's a really good question. And every person, and I know every Jew, thinks that they absolutely have the answer to this question. Every Jew that I talk to thinks they could be the prime minister of Israel and figure out this conflict and all that sort of thing. Well, in my opinion, the solution would be for the Palestinians, with help of the Israelis, to form their own state, their own functional state and economy. The problem with that is they've had that opportunity many times, and that hasn't really panned out, has it?
Well, I think like
it never pans out.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. It never pans out. But right. I think that's the difficulty in finding the middle ground and finding those elements on each side that actually want that middle ground. If we're going to actually find a legitimate solution for this problem, obviously the individuals who are on either extreme end are never going to have a meeting in the middle, because that's just not how it works. Two extremes doesn't equal a middle. So if there are some people, you know, advocating, or any individual that is pushing for a two-state solution where there is some sort of, I guess the Palestinians are given some sort of agency, there has to be some sort of, I don't know, seeking out of parties that are not so extreme. There has to be some sort of a prominent voice that gives Palestinians a kind of a pragmatic, I guess, framework to work with. Without that, then
the only solution is a two-state solution.
Yes,
I mean, like
I don't think.
I don't think.
Amy,
hold on, man. But I don't. The way you get there, like Amy said, I mean, there's a lot of different opinions about this on both sides. So, like you said, there's two extremes, right? I mean, and can there be a middle ground? I mean, I'm sure there are people that are thinking about this pragmatically and feel like, yeah, this is the approach we need to take. But is that for everybody? Like, I don't. It doesn't seem like that.
Well, I think no matter what the solution is, I think there's going to be people who are unhappy. That's why I said seek out the more. Go ahead. Sorry. What?
Michael, you talked about like Palestinians having agency and all that kind of thing, and I totally 100% agree with you that Palestinian people should and do have agency. And I think that a great disservice that Westerners, particularly white Westerners, unless do, is disavow Palestinians of that agency by treating them like they are some kind of noble savages. The fact of the matter is that Israel pulled out of Gaza, 12 years ago, pulled out of Gaza unilaterally, left Gaza with all of this beautiful land. And then several years later, the Gazans elected Hamas, and I understand that for many of them it was under duress, because I talk to people who live in Gaza every single day, who reach out to me, who see me as an outspoken Zionist and want to talk to me. But Israel pulled out of Gaza, and then the Gazans elected Hamas, and then Hamas started terrorizing Israel. And so then what is Israel supposed to do? How many Jews are Israel supposed to let die before Westerners or leftists who are sitting in the comfort of their homes are okay with Israel retaliating? It's completely obnoxious.
Amy, how, like, sometimes it's hard to talk about a situation because maybe our reference points could be a little bit too shallow. And I think as far as like humans go, there are always going to be certain things that people are not going to be able to let go of. But I'll ask you a question, and I think this is an important question. Like, how did this all like begin? How did this all start? And how does
What do you mean?
the way it all started, I guess, connect to the United States and any other power, especially like, let's say, Britain, or
What?
where did this start? Where did this start at? What's the source? What's the source of all this? Because we can talk about the conflict over and over again. We can talk about what Israel has attempted to do, and deals that they attempted to make, and not being, I guess, I don't know, met in the middle, if you would say. So, like, where does this all begin? Like, where does this all begin? Like, where does all this, like, come from?
Where does all what come from? Oh, are you questioning Jewish indigenous status to Israel? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm asking where does this all start? I'm asking you where it starts at. It's a simple question. That's all. I'm giving you the floor. I'm just asking you where all this starts at, because, like I said, it's difficult to talk about these situations and begin from a very shallow reference point. Not taking into account
no homeland, and I need to prove to you that we are from where we're from. Is that our shallow reference point, Michael?
First of all, you don't have to prove to me anything, but I will say what I will say is, though, anyone, it doesn't matter who it is, if you are making a particular claim, whatever that claim is, if you want to start from that point, you can, since you brought it up. If anyone is going to make a claim and then base their political stance off that claim, or base their own, I guess, position on this planet on that claim, then guess what? That it's up to you to prove that claim. It's not asking you to somehow justify your existence to me. I see you, I hear you, so I know you're here. But if you're making a claim to some land, then I think that it is up to you to kind of like prove why you should be there. I'm sorry.
I think if you had done the most cursory amount of research prior to 1948, you would already have this information. But I could ask you several questions. The first of which is, number one, where does the name Palestine come from?
First of all,
where does the name Palestine come from? Palestine is a colonial term. Palestine is the name that Romans gave to that land.
Does it really matter what the name of the land is, though?
Palestine is a colonial term, number one. Number two, the mosque is built on top of the temple. What the fuck do you think that means? That the temple was there first. Number three, if you dig in the ground in Israel, there are coins 2,000, 3,000 years old, written in what? Hebrew. Not Arabic, but Hebrew. Just because Arabs live next door to Israel doesn't mean they're from Israel.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who the fuck is a Jew? That's what I want to ask you. Who the fuck is a Jew? That's what I want to know. Who is a Jew? That's the question. And the name of the land, really, does it really matter? Does it really matter what the name of the land? Does it really matter what the name of this country we live on now is named today? Does that really matter, or does the people who lived here at that time matter? So we can get caught up on what the name was and what was it named and who was there. My question to you is, who is defined as a Jew? That's my question. Who is a Jew? That's the only question I have.
Well, we lost our caller.
Well, I don't think we lost her. I think she hung up. I think I was trying to be very monotoned and approach this issue with some sort of like respect, but I'm not surprised that that individual got all up in her feelings. I mean, I know who that was.
Well, the point you were making about the Palestinians, I mean, is a point that we've made before too. I mean, it doesn't matter what they're called. It matters that they were people that were there.
That's all that matters.
I mean, that's what that matters.
So like
the history of who was there prior to them being there, you know, I mean, it's relevant. It doesn't address it doesn't address the fact that they also were there at a time and they were removed. I mean, it doesn't address that. Look, like I said, there are many different opinions on this. There's extreme this side, there's extreme that side, there's a middle ground. Like I said, the only solution would be a two-state solution. It's not like she was saying, you know, the possible like flooding them into Israel per se or anything like that. There is already a region there. There are already people that are there. It's just that they don't really have the same advantages as people of Israel. You know, like it's not the same kind of living environment.
Like, I'm all for, you know, I guess giving people back their land if, you know, that's the case. Like, because essentially that's the whole argument. Think about that. That's the whole argument a lot of people, including Amy, were making. That, hey, it was their land before. Okay, then how do you reasonably deal with that situation when people are already there? I think no matter what happened before those people were there, you are going to automatically create a conflict if you remove people from their land and supplant them with a new group of people. That's just common sense. So you can talk about who was there before, but it still doesn't explain why another group of people gets moved off their land. I don't understand why that's so hard for people to understand.
All right, well, let's get back to Will. Let's see if he has come to what he wanted to talk about. Will, are you there?
Hey.
What's going on, Will?
Can you hear me? What's up, man? Yeah, that was crazy. Well, that was interesting anyway. But well, on that real quick, I mean, what you have now is pretty much a one-state solution. The one-state solution would look very similar, just be a complete dictatorship, and maybe the Israelis would have to stop killing the Palestinians since they were so-called citizens of Israel if you had a one-state solution. But it would definitely be an apartheid type situation. So a two-state solution is the only way for human rights to be preserved in a situation like this. But I think we all know that. What I wanted to talk about was a guy called in a couple weeks or a week or so ago. He said he was in the military, just deplorable, I think, and he was giving some sort of a case or an argument for a smaller government. And, you know, he sounded like a really, you know, pleasant fellow. And I'm sure he is. And it's just unfortunate to see how effective propaganda and effectively brainwashing, you know, really is. To have people in his apparent socioeconomic status sort of protecting or making the case to preserve a status quo that doesn't benefit himself or the majority of people is it's really unfortunate, but that's what people who have power and want to preserve that status quo, that's what they do. And you know, so I want to speak really quick on the argument for a smaller government. The real reason why Republicans are often the ones or libertarians, that doesn't matter. The case for it is not what they say it is. I mean, the reason why they say they want a smaller government. You know, we can see with Donald Trump, he kind of skirted that issue by putting a climate science denier into the position of EPA, environmental protection. So instead of gutting the EPA completely, he actually took it one step further and worse by putting somebody in the position that's obviously not going to do what the job calls for. And that's what they're talking about when they want a smaller government. If you really want a smaller government, you would reduce military, reduce spying on your own citizens. I mean, if you really want to reduce the government, let's talk about reducing the government. The government is for the people. It should work for the people. In a lot of cases, it does. It's just not quite. It's regulated and it's not powerful enough, and corrupt people are put to head these organizations to where they don't function the way they should. The government is never an enemy of the people when it functions properly. So to try to make a case for a smaller government is, honestly, it's effectively making a case for an autocratic, authoritarian dictatorship. So I'd just like to point that out for anybody who hears that case being made against a small or for a small government and is being sort of swayed by those very disingenuous arguments that are made.
Most people that actually kind of support like a smaller government though are full of shit though. They don't actually support smaller government. They just support smaller government in the things that they don't like in terms of like healthcare or education and stuff like that. They don't actually support smaller government. Like when it comes to the military, they can be as big as it wants to be, you know?
And when most people talk about they want smaller government, we have to like really dig down into like why they're making that argument. You kind of it's always a contextual argument when people, I guess, are making that particular or taking that position. So you kind of have to look at the rest of their politics to determine where it's coming from. I do think there are some people who genuinely want a smaller government and make some good arguments to that, but 95% of the people are being disingenuous, and I think some of them are being unknowingly disingenuous, especially when you look at the rest of their politics and you look at the parts of government they hate, and the parts of government they hate tend to be parts of the government that, how can I say, would put a squash on their own agenda. You see what I'm saying? So when they talk about a small government, they're talking about, hey, we want a government that's not going to stop us from, letting gays from getting married. You know what I'm saying? We want to be able to do that. We want to be able to put Bibles back in school, and the big bad government is keeping us from doing that.
Or
you know what I'm saying? We want to be able to deny gays. We want to be able to protect these rich people, and we need a small government to do that. All these regulations are killing the ability for us to make money. So we need a smaller government. So all these arguments they usually make for smaller government are just an appeal to people who already have power. And maybe their own designs to, I guess, gain positions of power.
Right. So, I'm not sure how many people caught on to this, but that is exactly what Donald Trump did when he said, for every regulation that we bring into, for every new regulation, we're going to cut out 2 of them. That was an attack on the government and the positive functions of government. It was exactly that small government argument, and that's exactly what he did with that. That's what that was.
No doubt. Well, Will, we appreciate you calling in. We do have another caller trying to voice their opinion on something, so we're gonna have to let you go. But thank you for calling in again, man. We hope you have a good weekend.
Oh yeah, you too. Y'all have a good one. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right.
All right, we got a caller from 681 area code. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have the wrong conference. I accidentally misplaced the number.
All right, we got a caller from 681 area code. All right, get out of here. All right, so yeah, all right. That's our last call of the evening. So yeah, definitely shout out to Will and Amy for giving us a call and voicing their opinion on issues. Like I said, sometimes we we're not gonna agree totally with callers, but like I said, we're gonna of course stay true to who we are and voice our opinion and how we see things.
And see what I don't try not to allow people to do is like try to get me to play from their position, like a position that really doesn't, like, I guess, have a consequence on the larger conversation. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm not trying to get set up to go in a place that really is inconsequential. I don't allow people to try to like argue it from that standpoint. I'm not even going to go down that road.
All right, so just a few things that I want to note before we close the show. The murder trial of former officer Roy Oliver is ongoing. Oliver was testifying earlier today. Oliver is the former police officer that was charged with murdering 15-year-old Jordan Edwards. He shot him through a vehicle. Jordan Edwards was riding in the passenger seat. His brother was driving the vehicle. They were coming from a party in Texas, and police officers were called to that location because of I believe underage drinking. You know, I guess there was some suspicion of that, and Jordan Edwards' car, they were trying to get away. I mean, it's not like they were being. I don't know if they even knew they were being stopped or what have you, but they were driving away from this officer. This officer shot into the vehicle like his life was being threatened, and he ended up killing 15-year-old Jordan Edwards. So this murder trial, like I said, is ongoing, and
that's crazy how long it took for this murder trial to actually start.
Yeah, this was sometime last year. I can't remember. It was about a year before the trial actually came up. So, like I said, hopefully justice will be served. The DNC summer meeting in Chicago is this week. They've been meeting. They're going to be discussed, or they have been discussing, the superdelegates and what they will do with them. Of course, there's this plan now to, what are they going to do? Because before they were going to limit the number of superdelegates, and now they're not even going to limit the number of superdelegates. They just want to push them to like the second round of voting.
So basically, this they're pretty much, I guess, doing their, I guess, backtracking.
Oh yeah, severe backtracking. Yeah, but people are still opposed to the idea, so we don't even know if that is going to get done. Which what they're trying to get done is nothing, zero. It's inconsequential. What else? Oh yeah, we talked about the military parade last week on Thursday, and then soon after we talked about it at the end of the show, it was announced that Trump had canceled it.
Is that really accurate, or is it just the Pentagon was like, dog, nah?
Yeah.
And now he's saying that he was worried about the cost.
Yes, because the new cost, it went from $12 million to an estimated $92 million in cost. And so he was like, oh, no, we can't do that. That's way too expensive. But then he said something about like maybe next year, maybe we'll do something next year when the costs come down. Like, I don't understand why the cost will come down. But then he said, in the meantime, we can use that money for some new, like, fighter jets.
Yeah.
Are you saying, again, this is the president of the United States, man. Mm-mm. First of all, like, a fighter jet, like, that's millions of dollars. You could probably get one with that kind of money, $92 million. You could probably get one. Second of all, you're a president of the United States that understands that people are suffering across the United States of America. They're praying for better situations, and yet you want to spend $92 million on a fighter jet that is unneeded instead of relieving suffering across the United States and actually doing some goodwill. You want to buy a new toy for the military. This dude is an embarrassment, man. Yeah, so that's all I got. Well, okay, there was actually a recent poll, Reuters Ipsos survey found 70% of U.S. residents support Medicare for all, and within that number, 85% of Democrats said they support it, along with 52% of Republicans. So that's still, forget the Democratic side of it. 52% of Republicans, it's coming. Like, support even from the right wing, it's coming.
You see, right there, like the argument about what people want and what people don't want, you can't make a sound argument without highlighting that poll, those poll results.
I'm saying,
because right now it does look like it does look like there are plenty of Americans that are,
they're realizing
like, yeah, we gotta do something now, because at some point, regardless of what side people feel they fall under, they're going to definitely be affected. Their lives are going to be affected by such a policy. And they really do, the people that don't want Medicare for all, that say it's a bad policy, they really don't want you looking across the ocean into different countries. Or actually, you don't even need to cross the ocean. You need to cross land north to Canada, and they have, a policy like this. They have a system like this. That's how they always say, "Oh, that's not going to work." It's not going to work over here. It's because that country's too small. But I was like, there's an example right above our head that you can go to. It's ridiculous, man. I believe it was the person who was integral in that study, the Mercatus study, that said Medicare for all will cost like $32.4 trillion. I think it was but actually it would actually save the United States like $2 trillion over the course of like a decade or something. But I think he was saying that, even if you double taxes, it still wouldn't pay for everything. It's like, hold on, how do we have the money to pay for the current U.S. system then? If we're gonna save money, how are we paying for the current healthcare system right now? If you double taxes it wouldn't take care of it. Like, this is the insanity of this. Like, people that don't want this system, they have an agenda. And their agenda is not the betterment for humanity. It definitely is not. Also in this study, also in this poll, they talked about free college tuition. 41% of Republicans said they supported the policy, compared with 79% of Democrats. Again, throw out the Democratic number because we know that people on that side are more, supportive of that. But 41% of Republicans? To me, that's again, that's coming. Well, if you're talking about 41% of Republicans, to me that's high. It is high. That's high considering they're Republicans. I'm just saying, man, it's coming. Next week, Tuesday, Arizona and Florida primary, so that's something that we'll definitely be taking a look at. Rick Scott up for a Senate, Senate position. He's up for a Senate position because he's trying to run away from his duties as governor. No doubt, yeah. Arizona, Arpaio, he's running for Senate as well. There's a host of Republicans running for Senate. So again, there's a few different races that we're going to be kind of primed in on, or keyed in on. Also, I saw somebody in the chat talk about LTMB numbers and how we have surpassed 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I would think I'd be a little bit more excited about this, but the numbers are a little bit fraudulent. Oh no, a little bit fraudulent. Well, but not fraudulent. It's not fraudulent. That's the wrong word. It's misleading. Oh yes. The numbers are misleading. So we've talked about on this show a few times about one particular video that we've done, and it was a video about former President Barack Obama. And this video, by far, has the largest view count of any other video that we have made. And this video is coming on 2 years that we have made it. I think it was September of 2016. And for some reason, people with a conservative ideology, they have been just focused in on this one video. They've been cranking that video like crazy. It's I don't even know how to call it. I don't even know what to call it, but we're continuously getting new subscribers, new view counts for that. We get all these crazy comments. I showed you probably the dumbest comment that I have ever seen is somebody that said something like, look at President Obama. He still thinks he's the president. Yo, this was 2 years ago. No, he's lying like he's still the president. He's lying like he's still the president. This video is from 2 years ago. When he was the president. It's like, wow. So I don't know what's going on with that, but hey, we'll take the views. I'm sure that I saw earlier in the program too, people were talking about trolling. People that were coming in trolling in the chat.
maybe that's part of it. These conservatives are looking at these videos and maybe
thinking
click
that
bell. And
they're thinking that because we made some
Yes.
I wouldn't call it anti-Hillary because it's not really about Hillary. It's about being anti-corruption.
Yeah.
And Hillary being the center of that. You see those videos and you see us criticizing Obama and you automatically somehow think we're a part of the Trump train.
Yeah.
This,
even though we say that we're not in the video.
It's just that false dichotomy people assume.
But one thing the video is about, I think it's about 9 minutes long. It's either 7 to 9 minutes long. So they're not watching all of it.
Heck no.
They're not watching
all of it. They're just taking from it what they want to take from it.
Yeah. So, like Mike said, we criticize former President Barack Obama. That automatically means that we're on the Trump
by
train.
default.
Yeah. So
they must have criticized Obama. Oh my God. And they criticized Hillary. They must love Trump. No.
So yeah, we flew past that 10,000 number. It just kept creeping up, and the next day it was like, bam, it's past it. So like I said, we'll take it. It looks good, but we do need to hone in on our target audience, not that audience, because that it's just not gonna work. That's just not gonna work.
No, it's not gonna work.
But what's interesting is that you would think they would do just one more video. You know what I'm saying? Because if I go to a channel, if I see a video and I like what I see, usually I will look at other video, other content. At least one more video to be like, okay, let me see what else these this channel has.
You said if you go to a channel.
Yeah.
You're talking about personally. You need to verify whether these people that you are subscribing to and are now investing time to listen to are really about what they're about.
Yeah.
But when you are just looking for the smallest thing, you're so I guess juiced up. Inside you're just looking for anything to latch on to. You see what I'm saying? It's an excitement.
Subscribe.
So subscribe. That's all I need. That's all I need to hear. Subscribe, bam.
But
you
what
I'm saying?
If you really do, it blows my mind. If you really do think we're on Team Trump, then you would want to see more Team Trump videos. It's I don't understand how they're not making that next step. Damn, okay, let me see some more pro-Trump stuff. Click.
Yeah, because you would think they would want to get their fill on that too.
Exactly.
But again, they're just excited, and of course, I think there's other elements to it. We had some criticism for Obama, and Hillary, and we're black,
no doubt.
So it's for some reason, it's it's even more.
This is a wow factor, right?
Yeah, so it's even more of some sort of excitement involved in that.
Yeah.
And so now they think any kind of hate that they have for Obama is validated simply because we criticized Obama on something that most likely they wouldn't even criticize Obama on. That's the funny thing about.
Oh man. So anyway, we did surpass 10,000. So again, we're happy for the numbers, but again, we do need to hit that target audience because I have a this funny feeling that a lot of these people that have subscribed to the channel, our particular commentary, 99.99999% of it would not be something.
Oh, definitely would not be receptive to. That's funny that L Train says that. We've talked about that.
Yeah. Oh, the walkway.
And you know what? It would get. I think I would go as far as say we'll get 1 trillion views because the wackest ones got 1 million views.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands.
The wackest ones
that you could pick apart in 2 seconds.
2 seconds. They didn't say anything. The ones that are the most nonsensical and the most dumb have millions. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we have trillions. We have mugs on other planets watching it on YouTube.
Man. But all right, that is our show for the evening. Again, shout out to our callers. Shout out to everybody in the chat. All of our viewers. Jose Garcia, thank you for contributing to the stream. And thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon as well for being the lifeblood of this program. Now, what we have been waiting for.
Yeah, this kid.
What we have been waiting for. That is the new premiere.
See, now he got jokes.
This is exclusive content. All right, you ain't gonna hear this anywhere else. Look, right here at LTMB. All right, straight up exclusive content. All right, we got my man Mike. Right.
No, it's Gene's fault.
we got my man
Don't
Mike.
hide in the comments, Gene. And
dropping his brand new single, right?
Gene be trying to play coy, but I seen her dropping some jokes.
I did
in
see
the comments. I seen her being funny. She tried to play coy, but she was dropping some little funny jokes.
Yeah, man. So
but it's all Gene's fault.
She
said I'm not here. Yo, you got my chest hurt.
So without further ado, man, here is. We gonna name it? Or is it too much?
That's too much. That's the first. They gonna be. I know L Train gonna be clowning like a mug. That's the first thing I thought of. I couldn't think of anything else.
Oh boy!
I was like, cause seaweed didn't sound right. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, tell him. Go. Nah, you know what? That's too much. It's too much, man. All right. So, like I said, without further ado, man, this is the hit new single, man. Oh yeah. See. We getting to something here. We need some lyrics over this. You can work on that next one. You can work on that next one. It ain't gotta be R&B. It can be some hip hop. Just some slow hip hop. You know what I'm saying? It can be like a
like something like LL Cool J talk over.
Yeah. Oh man. Elgin Khadijah.
I think I need you, Khadijah.
Yo, I can't lie. When I heard that, yo, how about trip, man? How about trip? Where you at, Gene? See, I don't see no more comments, Gene.
She doing something.
Gene, see, this is all inspired by you. That's how you feel, huh?
That's how I feel, yeah.
Okay. There we go. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, see, I'm messing up her vibe right here.
Oh, she
I'm
focusing
messing
on
your vibe
something.
up. My bad. We're gonna let this play out, man. But we appreciate everybody following us tonight. Listening, chiming into the chat. We're gonna get out of here. We hope that you join us for the next program, which will be Tuesday. We'll be there this time, Tuesday. And we'll have a fresh new batch of stories to cover. So for Let the Madness Begin, LTMB Live, man. Peace out. Have a good weekend. We'll see you in a few days, right?